and welcome to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. I am your host, Sam Randazzo, and I am joined by my two absolutely elated co-hosts and Bruce. To my right, it is the one, the only, Uncle Sam.
Hello.
That was very fruity today.
I'm sorry?
You need to redo the hello.
Elated.
It was very
Hello.
weak.
Elated. That was your word.
I'm good. I'm in a great mood today.
Are you really?
Yes, I am.
What is it? The
I can't
weather?
wait.
Is it the weather?
Weather was work good?
Weather's perfect. Yeah.
Good. Okay. And right next to me, it is Zolo, back again with us, hopefully forever. From what I've heard, everybody else hopes that it's forever too, so we are thrilled to have
keep
Zolo
hearing
here.
that.
Yeah. Zolo's,
The
I've
few
heard
people
Zolo's...
that I know.
Yeah, I know it. There was a lot of
The
people who
handful
were
of
saying...
people that I know.
There's a lot of people who were saying the pecking order of this show now is me, followed by Zolo, followed by Bruce, and then you.
What does that mean?
They were saying that, maybe we should try and find a way to work you out, and then Bruce could take your spot.
I'll gladly be worked out. Just let me know when.
You just want to switch?
I'm out. You guys let me know. Y'all
leaving-
let me
he's
know.
leaving now.
You guys want me
Yeah,
out?
he's ready
I'm
to
out.
go.
That's it.
He's ready
I'm
to
out
go.
right now.
All right, so last week, sorry we didn't make it on air. I was gone longer than expected.
Anyway.
So apologies there. But the NFL schedule released on Thursday. Obviously, as Lions fans, everyone was pretty excited to see them get the opening matchup against Kansas City. But we aren't going to start off today's show with that. We are going to finish today's show with that because realistically, I think that game has way more meaning to it than what meets the eye of just, oh yeah, the Lions get to play in the first game of week one. I think there's a lot more deeper meaning there, and we don't want to waste the entire show on it because that's usually what happens. So we're going to save it for the end. But we are going to talk about all 18 weeks, and we are going to break down some of our favorite matchups and some ones that we find interesting and some ones that we really don't like. So without further ado, was there any news that we missed out on? Did we miss out on any big news?
Zadarius Smith signed with the Cleveland Browns.
Traded the Browns.
He got traded. I did see that.
Big one. Good deal for the Browns there, it feels like.
I think so too. They haven't really been able to find anybody opposite him. They tried Clowney. It didn't work out. So
Dan Snyder's no longer going to be an owner here pretty quick.
Yeah.
He's finally going to be gone. So that's a nice piece of news. They're saying over $6 billion. Oh,
I bet you he's happy as shit.
I think he paid not much for that team. I think he paid maybe $600 million for that team. You have to fact check it.
$800 million back in 94.
Yeah. So he made 10 times his investment. That's a pretty good gig there.
yeah, that's to say the least. And then Uncle Sam, one of your greats. One of your all-time favorites. Somebody whose back you had last year all the way through. And you just... We're so disappointed in him. Matt Ryan is now going to be an analyst for CBS.
God bless Matt Ryan.
That is 2 years too late.
2 years too late.
He said it's not a retirement announcement too, Uncle Sam. He said it's not. He said it's not a retirement announcement. He's just doing CBS this year. So go ahead.
No, I'd rather see him retire. I think he's better talking about football than playing it at this point.
Yeah, that was
Better than
2
Tony
years.
Romo?
2 years too late on that.
Better than Tony Romo?
I don't know what that means.
He's an analyst.
Tony Romo?
Yeah.
They haven't
I
specified if Matt Ryan's going to be in the
only
studio
person
or if he's going to be
I don't like more than Tony
in the booth.
Romo
Yeah,
calling
so-
a game is Joe fucking Buck. I can't stand that fucking guy.
That rhymes.
He needs to stick to baseball and get the fuck out of the NFL.
Go, Buck.
You want to know another one of your favorite NFL faces made some news this week. Cowboys head coach Mike McCarthy was sidelined for this week's rookie camp due to a back procedure.
Oh, what did they do? Cut the fucking bacon off his back?
I saw that coming from a
Holy
mile
shit.
away, and it delivered.
There was
perfectly.
a lot of bacon there.
Oh, God.
That fat
You ever
bastard.
notice he waddles? He doesn't walk. He waddles.
Oh, yeah.
He's a full waddler.
Mess.
Also, I saw
older version of Matt Patricia.
I saw something today that was actually astounding to me. So Stenson Bennett, everybody knows he's essentially an old man, right? I think he's 26 or 27. He started college at Georgia in 2017. and still has not graduated. He never got a degree.
Who, Stetson Bennett?
Yeah.
What, do you think he's the only college athlete to ever do that?
He was there for 6 years.
I think he left Georgia. He started at Georgia and then he left
Didn't
Georgia
he go to
and went
community JUCO
He went to
thing?
JUCO in between, and then he can waive his Hall of Fame waiting period. What if they do that for him? Like they did for, I think they've done it for like Gretzky. They did it for Kobe. What if they did that? Would you be okay with that, Uncle Sam?
Fuck no. He's not
I
the
don't
best
have any
quarterback
interest in-
ever.
I don't
you-
want to see him till he's making his little fucking speech at the hall.
Well, supposedly he's also backing out of the Fox deal too.
So what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't think he can own the Raiders
And-
I don't
and
think he
do
can be a part
media.
owner and have his hands. in it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why.
But yeah, at some point on the show, I'm going to have Zolo and you debate
Conflict of interest.
the Brady is the greatest of all time thing. But we'll say
Not
that
the
for another
fucking
day.
greatest of all time. Jesus H. Christ.
Anyway,
He's not. Is he the most winningest quarterback of all time? Yes. But he is not the greatest quarterback.
So what you're saying is and I don't disagree with you. What you're saying is you could have the biggest dick, but that doesn't mean you're the best at fucking.
That's it.
That's fair. I won't argue that right now.
They say.
anyways, I'll leave that one alone.
He's also the most losingest quarterback in history, too.
True. It's true.
I'm not going to go here today. We really don't want to go down.
Yeah, a couple of those games got lucky on. Pete Carroll's a fucking idiot. And he has
Those
the best
Darryl Bell-
short yardage back in 5 years.
Listen, let's save it. Let's get to week one, Uncle
Fucking
Sam.
Christ.
Let's get to week one.
Between the Mike McCarthy and the
Tom Brady.
Mike Davis and Brady,
You know what?
You're just
I'm feeling a little faint right now. I think I'm going to pass out.
So let's start off week one. The schedule is officially out. I think we should talk about keep the ball rolling. Sunday night, Cowboys at the New York Giants. Dak Prescott versus Daniel Jones.
It's a big game.
In a matchup that, in division rivals. I think this is going to be, out of every game on this schedule, because I was dissecting it a little bit, and I don't think they really put any true barn burners in here besides like.
I got one I'm curious about, but I think you picked the winner in terms of, and that's why they made it to Sunday night. I think that's the
Right.
best game on the slate, but there's one more that I'm curious about, but.
Well, there's one more I wrote down too that I was curious about. Now, I actually saw this video, and it was a debate. If you were an NFL GM, okay, and this was your week one game, who would you rather have as your quarterback? Daniel Jones or Dak Prescott? And I already know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
Daniel Jones.
But outside of somebody who doesn't absolutely fucking despise Dak Prescott, I wanted to see what Zolo would say on this one.
It's a loaded answer on my end. I'm going to take the easy way out. If it was last year, it's Daniel Jones. If it's body of work over time, it's Dak Prescott. But I love what the Giants did this offseason. So I think in this instance, I might actually take Daniel Jones at home week one.
Thank you.
Otherwise,
I feel the
it's
same
Dak
way.
Prescott. It's Dak Prescott all the way. When Dak Prescott's good, he's a top 5 quarterback.
So this division, actually, we were talking about how the AFC East was going to be like the gauntlet. I'm kind of starting to think here, this is kind of set up the same way now. You have Philadelphia, Dallas, and the Giants, who obviously I think Philadelphia is a clear favorite still, but those 3 teams are going to beat the piss out of each other all season long.
Washington, too.
They're
Washington's
always
like
in it.
New England.
They're always in it. They're always.
Yeah.
That's a really good comparison.
Washington,
They're always
yeah.
there.
They'll win 6 or 7 games and they'll spoil one of those other teams' season, but
Well, you got.
They're not gonna be competing for
when
the
these
division.
guys come out of this division 2. 9 games can win you that division. 10 games
Good.
can win you that division.
It's cyclical in that division.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best team in football, like last year, the Eagles came out of that division. Sometimes they're throwing a team in there with a losing record as the division winner. I think the Giants got better.
You had
I
Brady.
agree with you.
I think
I
the Giants got better, and I think
Yeah.
for that reason, that opens up the door in that
Correct.
division a little bit more.
And I mean, I think you're going to see the Giants and Dallas pretty on par. In my opinion, I might be overvaluing the Giants or undervaluing the Cowboys, but at some point, this whole thing where the Cowboys win a whole bunch of games every year and then get bounced in the first round of the playoffs, the tide's going to have to turn. And I think if
It
you
ain't
see
gonna
that,
turn until the boat flips over.
if you see that happen,
is that a dead Jerry? Are we talking about a dead Jerry right now?
I think he was talking about the boat
McCarthy?
flipping over on Mike.
Mike
Be honest with
McCarthy?
you, I'm going to say this. I don't think the Cowboys will be successful as long as Jerry Jones continues to be general manager.
That's
that's
not
my
an unfair
opinion.
assessment.
Well, it's
a
his
lot of
kids
people
next up.
A lot of
after him.
people have thought that he runs the team with more emotion than he should instead of
Yes.
the decision making.
And if, he's supposedly this great businessman. I think if he ran it more like a business and got his heart out of it, I think he'd be better off that way. Or do what these other teams do. Hire these GMs. Look at in Philly. He hired Howie Roseman and he stays the fuck. Jeffrey Lurie stays out of it. That's what you're supposed to do. Stay out of it. Let that guy do his job.
All right. Moving on here. Oh, there's one you wanted to talk about. Go ahead. I want to see if we're on the same page here.
Packers Bears for
That's
me.
Thank you.
Yeah. Boom.
Yep. I agree.
Packers Bears because we have invested interest in this town and we get to see how improved the Bears are. I do think they're improved. I don't think they're great. I think they're going to be better than 2 wins. And we get to see Jordan Love, and it happens in Chicago, a place that Aaron Rodgers, quote unquote, owned.
Yeah.
So Jordan Love, let's see how good you are week 1. You get a primetime game on Fox, the 4:30 game. That I'm intrigued. I'm gonna watch it just to see
100%.
how good or bad those teams are because it's gonna determine the Lions season.
I like the divisional matchups that are in this week 1.
Well, yeah.
You got Carolina, Atlanta.
That's the other game that I had highlighted
that's
on
gonna
here.
be
Yeah,
a-
we get to see some stuff with
Yeah,
Carolina.
correct.
Like, there's things
Yep.
you get to see, and it
Yes.
intrigues you.
Even
That game's
Cleveland,
extremely
Cincinnati.
telling.
Is Cincinnati going to come out dominant this year? They going to come out slow like they did last year?
They did come out.
Are they going to come out hot? And you got to see where Rub and Tug. Got to see where he's at. I mean,
Rub and Tug played what
I think he played the last 4 games. didn't
four
he?
games, so we
correct,
didn't see anything,
correct.
and
But he's
they
going to have a full training camp,
Yeah.
and I think that'll make a difference.
full camp, and they have a little more assets, a few more assets to work with now.
Correct.
You'll get to see that week 1 against a good team. So
And another one that I said besides Carolina and Atlanta, which I think is going to be a really good game because I'm actually anxious to see if Desmond Ridder can
Yes.
play quarterback
Is he going to
against
be able to play at this next level?
correct a halfway decent defense. And obviously, when you have the first overall pick from this year's draft in a game, that's going to be one. But also, the Jaguars Colts game kind of interests me for the same reason as the first one. One, is Anthony Richardson going to be ready to play week 1, like
good
they're
defense.
saying,
A good
against
young
a
defense.
very good defense? And 2, I think this year is going to be a very telling year for Jacksonville because there's a ton of hype about Jacksonville this year because of the way they finished the year last year. That game's not going to be a gimme for them week 1.
they're coming here for training camp, by the way, which is
Jacksonville is?
really
Well,
intriguing.
we're gonna have to go
the Jags are coming. Here.
By the way, you had the Rams,
Oh, gee.
who basically are, I don't know what they are, if they're in a rebuild or whatever, or a redo, but they got to go to Seattle and play Seattle week 1. That's a huge divisional game for them.
That is.
You want to know something? And I don't know why, but the Rams, it was like that 1 year was all it took for everybody to like completely forget
Jump
that they.
ship?
Yeah, I mean,
well.
you still have Cooper Kupp, you still have Aaron Donald, you still have Stafford. I mean, I don't know 1,000% if we know which Stafford we're going to get
Right.
anymore, but that Rams team.
That Rams team has lost a lot of bodies.
Yes,
That
I know.
were on that Super Bowl winning team too.
But
Leonard
if-
Floyd is gone, you got these guys are all gone.
Even last year,
Miller.
Jalen Ramsey's gone.
Yeah,
right.
Bobby Wagner's gone. Von Miller. Yeah.
If Sean McVay is the overlord that everybody says he is, that team will have found a way to very quietly string a couple of things together. And don't get me wrong, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but they will compete in that division and spoil someone's year. And I don't think anybody sees that coming, but I think that's going to be the case. I think that could be an 8-9 win football team if Stafford and if the main core of guys stay healthy, that could be a 8-9 500 football team.
There's some things that got to go right. I know what you're saying. Touch on Jets Bills Monday Night Football real quick too.
That's another one. I mean, that's huge right off the bat. Monday Night Football in New York. It's Aaron Rodgers' first game as a Jet. They gave him the spotlight on Monday Night Football.
22 years after the tower fell. The towers fell. It's
No, it is
9/11
on
too.
9/11.
It's on 9/11, so the crowd should be hot.
Yeah, crowd will be hot. Bills coming in to play Aaron Rodgers' first game as a Jet. We're gonna see everything we need to know about the dominance of that division in that game. And I think that game is going to be, whoever wins that game, that is a massive momentum boost to start off the year. And whoever loses it is going to have to work their way back up. Realistically, you'd be crazy to go against Buffalo in that game because we don't know what the Jets are going to bring to the table yet. I saw this thing the other day, and they were talking about how if you take the Jets offense and the Packers offense from last year, they're extremely similar. Extremely similar.
With Nathaniel Hackett back into the fold,
Correct.
too, for the Jets.
So,
For Aaron Rodgers, I should say.
do we think the Jets are better than an 8 or 9 win football team? That's the real question here. Because, again, a lot of hype. Obviously, there's a lot of hype. You got Aaron Rodgers. You got your ultimate prize. But in that division, this game is going to tell it all. Because we also don't know how strong Buffalo is right now. We don't know. That's going to be a tell-all game for me.
I agree.
Well, I think moving into the second week of the season also, you got some teams that are going to be 0-2 in the division. In their divisions. You got New Orleans has to go to Carolina week 2. Cleveland has to go to Pittsburgh week 2.
Well, Cleveland, yeah.
Now these are divisional games that people are playing week 1 and week 2.
It's a hell of a way to start
back.
the year. Yeah,
Right.
It's a
Yeah.
hell of a gauntlet to start the year.
Miami has to go to New England. That's a divisional game.
Well, the divisional game that sticks out to me here is the Baltimore-Cincinnati matchup.
That's a big one.
I mean, that's been the ultimate like war of the worlds in that division for the last couple of years. And again, that's going to be another really, really telling game.
Indy's got to go to Houston week 2. That's a divisional game. So 2 weeks in a row, these guys have divisional games. So if they mean something. If you come out flat and you go 0-2 in your division, you're going to be in trouble.
I agree with you 1,000% there. I mean,
You got to win your division first and foremost.
yes, but I mean, realistically, are the Colts or Houston gonna compete for their division this year?
I don't know.
They're not.
Hard to say.
They're not.
Why? You think Tennessee's that much better than them?
No, I don't. I think Jacksonville's that much better.
There you go.
I think there's not too many runaway divisions, but for me,
Right.
that AFC South is a runaway division. I think Jacksonville is far more talented than Indianapolis and Houston, and they both are coming in with brand new quarterbacks, brand new offense. It's going to take more than a year for them to get it together.
My only knock on Jacksonville is that they have that Lions thing going for them where their fan base and people want to know, can you put back-to-back
Right.
seasons together?
Correct.
And
That's
that'll
the
tell
big
you.
if.
That'll tell you because it's not those games are close in that division. They're not always blowouts.
Well, I mean, Jacksonville plays Kansas City week 2. So you'll know right there.
Everybody's anointed the Detroit Lions the best team in the North right now. I don't know.
they got to prove it.
I don't know. They have to fucking prove it. They didn't prove it last year as far as I was.
But prove it against who?
I mean, I know they went 5-1 in the division last year. I get that.
I mean, that's
But-
prove it. And they don't have, there's no realistically.
And Aaron Rodgers was in the division at the time.
Aaron Rodgers was throwing to people like you. That's why they fucking
He's
finished
still
the
got
way
the
they
same
did.
weapons, but maybe a few.
There's not, to me personally, there's not really a threat in that division. Minnesota's going to win games on accident, a couple of them again. And I think Chicago's going to, obviously, like he said, be better than a 2-win team.
All right, out of all 4 teams in that division, who has the best quarterback?
Detroit?
I think Jared Goff might be the
Think
best.
Jared Goff is better
Yes.
than Jordan Love?
Yes, hands
You
down.
think he's better than Kirk Cousins?
It would come
Yes.
down to him and Cousins, and I think
Yeah,
we're
I think it's
consensus
as
here.
Experience, it comes
Yeah.
down to those 2 guys, because you're going to go with a guy that hasn't played. He's been there for 3 years, but still hasn't fucking played.
I mean, there's
Jordan
not.
Love,
You think, okay, Minnesota
4
goes
years,
to
3 years?
Philadelphia.
How long has he been in?
They'll get crushed.
Minnesota goes to Philadelphia week 2.
They're weeding out Minnesota's dumpster.
Remember what happened? when
fodder.
went
They're
to
going to
Philly
weed that out early
last
this
year?
year.
Correct.
Yeah.
And Zolo's exactly right. They're gonna put Minnesota. They're gonna throw them out the door naked by week 3
Okay.
when they're 0-3.
exposed.
Miami and New England, another divisional game, but again, that's gonna be by the time that game happens. So we'll have seen the Bills versus the Jets on Monday
Right.
Night Football, week 1, and then week 2 we turn around and we see the Dolphins at Foxborough
Right.
on
That's
Sunday
a hard
night.
place to fucking win in. I don't care
On a Sunday night.
On
what
Sunday
anybody
night.
says.
That's going to show us right there. By week 2, we'll see how that division.
It's one of the questions we had is AFC East, and we should know early on. There's going to be a front runner. There's going to be a horse in the lead at that point at the end of week 2. At least that's what we think, and you'll know early.
This will tell us how are the Jets for real and what they did in the offseason. Is it enough to put them into a playoff picture?
Well, I mean, week 2
is Buffalo still the reigning team in that division, or are they going to take a few steps back, which I feel that's what's going to happen?
Well, that's the whole thing, because like you said, if that first game, right, Buffalo and the Jets, is tightly contested and it's kind of poopy both ways, and Miami goes into Foxborough on Sunday night and absolutely sweeps the floor with New England, at that, I mean, you're going to have to look at it and be subjective about Miami.
Or Miami goes into New England and gets punched on the chin.
Oh, come on.
That could happen, too.
Wake up.
All right.
Wake up.
I'm just saying,
Going back to the Jets.
You don't know. All it takes is one hit and two is out. Ragdoll is out.
We don't even know who the quarterback is for the Patriots.
We don't even know who the quarterback is for Miami.
Well, as of right now, he is out of the concussion protocol. So
is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was talking about retiring here.
He was, but that was until Tom stepped away and he didn't want to leave the team hanging. But the Jets, week 2, go to Dallas.
Okay.
So
I wouldn't be scared of that. Going to Dallas is not. Listen, the Dallas Cowboys are overrated. They're not that good.
I know how
They're
much
not
you
that
hate
good.
them.
The whole point is we'll find out.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We're going to find out so much within those first 2 weeks. I mean, the other game here that actually interested me was this Washington and Denver game. And I know that sounds disgusting and it sounds boring. And
No, it makes sense.
But that game is you have two teams that are just, God, for lack of a better word, two teams that are just floating around in like football purgatory at the moment. And if Russell Wilson doesn't win this game, all the eyebrows should start going up in Denver.
A year ago, it was how many teams from the AFC West are going to get in. And,
Correct.
And this year, the narrative going into the season is how many teams are going to be able to even compete with the Chiefs in the AFC West.
Right.
And that's, again, you'll know. You'll know if Sean Payton's tactics set in early on. We'll know early, and it's great. That's what's the beauty is at the beginning of the season is we got an idea of where things are headed by week 2 or week 3.
Did I miss anything there?
That's a week 1. That's a weird week. And week 3 isn't much better.
Well, week 3, there was only one game that caught my interest, to be honest with you, on this entire schedule. It's a Monday night game. The Rams go to Cincinnati. Does Cincinnati get the revenge for that bullshit Super Bowl?
Oh, I think without question. I mean, I think, okay, I don't want to hop on the Cincinnati train too early again this year like I did last year because I essentially thought they would come out and run it last year. But
if everybody remembers, Buffalo started out. Who did they blow out by 40 that first week? I can't remember who it was.
I know what you're talking about.
They look like world beaters.
Right.
First 3 weeks, and then they just. That's it.
for me, this is a slow week. I agree. But there's a couple games that interested me. The Chargers at Vikings.
Chargers Vikings.
That's
we have interests. We have interest in that game.
Correct. And so the Chargers are kind of reminding me a little bit of Buffalo, where you've had off the charts expectations going into every single season, and every year somewhere there's a big slip up and everything kind of falls apart. I mean, the Chargers, nobody's really talked about it, but they had the biggest fall apart of any team last year in the playoffs against Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. They completely shit the bed. So,
and they had a full roster.
That game for me, again, and I liked what Zolo said, the NFL is literally hanging the Vikings out to see what they're about right out of the gate.
Weed them out early if they're bad.
That game is going to be telling, because if somehow Minnesota wins that game, which I don't think they will, but if Minnesota does, then the Chargers aren't real, and Minnesota might be a touch better than we thought.
Backing you up on I love the comparison of the Chargers and the Bills. Backing you up on that with their collapse, that's tradition for the Chargers. It's been happening for a long time, and I think this is their shit or get off the pot this year. The Bills are going to blow everything up if they blow it this year, but the Chargers shit or get off the pot is their head coach Brandon Staley, who people have wanted gone for a while now. And if they have a down year this year, look for Brandon Staley to be one of the first coaches to be fired, especially if they start slow.
I think they have to win the division for Staley to keep his job this year.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to really happen.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, at a minimum, make the playoffs and make noise. Like, you got to win a game. No, this is a weird week.
This is a weird week. Go ahead.
4?
Well, no, week 3 there was a couple other things that I liked. For some reason, that Tennessee and Cleveland game intrigues me a little bit, and I don't really know why.
At what point does Vrabel lose his job?
At what point? Yeah. At what point does the Tannehill plug get pulled? At what point do they get fed up with Vrabel? How real are the Cleveland Browns going to be? Because then at that point, because we talked about seeing Deshaun Watson in week 1, Deshaun Watson in week 3 with a full training camp, back in the rhythm, at home, week 3 against a lackluster Tennessee team. It should be about that point where Deshaun Watson starts to put himself back into the talk for who's top 5 best quarterbacks in the league, like it was before he took his hiatus in
because by the end of the year last year, he was struggling bad.
I
mean, they weren't even really competitive in some of those games.
I don't know if that was
junk, garbage points at the end.
I don't know if that was real, though. You know what I mean? Because, again, he didn't have a full training camp. He didn't.
He has one of the best running backs in football to just turn around and hand the ball off to. It's not like he didn't have any weapons.
There's
Amari
question
Cooper
marks.
is a top 10 receiver in the league. My opinion.
I'm going to disagree.
Okay.
Slightly.
He was.
He was.
I'm with. I don't think he is anymorry, but he certainly was.
I still think he's a top 10.
Much like you
He had a
in
good year
fantasy.
last year too.
Yes, he did.
Much like you in fantasy, he is past his prime. And I just don't think. I don't think that
Dak
Browns.
Prescott.
That Browns
I'll
roster
give you
just.
Dak Prescott. That sealed my fate.
Week 4.
Week 4. Let's move on. Right off the bat, Thursday Night Football, Lions at Packers. I mean, again, we were going to save Lions for the end, but that, regardless of who's quarterbacking in Green Bay,
big game.
It's going to be a September game. It's going to still be nice out, hopefully, and it's a Thursday Night Football game against the Packers.
It's going to be a trenches game.
That's going to be fun.
All of the primetime games this week are outstanding.
Oh,
Lions,
I know.
Packers.
Look at that. Kansas City at the Jets.
Aaron Rodgers gets his second, and the Lions too, for that matter.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers gets his second primetime game, and he gets to go against Mahomes, which he would have had to play Mahomes if he stayed in the division.
Daniel Jones getting another prime. So somebody must love the Giants.
Seattle is someone I'm really curious about, and seeing Seattle. I think Geno Smith was a fraud. I think they just managed him perfectly. I'm curious to see if he repeats, and it's the same with Daniel Jones. I'm curious to see if he can. I think he will, but I'm curious to see if Daniel Jones
I think
repeats
Daniel
the performance
Jones
he has
did it
last
with
year.
a hell of a lot less than Geno Smith.
I agree, and what
come
better
on.
way to put it to the test than you send Geno Smith to the stadium? He played for the Jets. You send him to the stadium where he
Send
started
him over there to sell popcorn and
see,
peanuts.
You know, the Seattle. A fun fact about Seattle is since Pete Carroll's entered the league, or the second time since he came from USC, no West Coast team has had more success playing on the East Coast than Seattle. He has it figured out somehow, Pete Carroll. So one would think that they should be able to perform well in that game. If Seattle's good, we'll know. The Giants are good, we'll know. I think that should be a pretty good game week 4.
Got Miami's at Buffalo that Sunday.
That division's just beating the shit out of
they
each
are
other
going
early.
to-
Huh?
Baltimore at Cleveland.
Baltimore and Cleveland.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I think that's. I just think Cleveland's gonna have a bad year. I just don't know why. I don't have a lot of
Here's
faith
the
in
thing
Cleveland.
about Cleveland. They had a shitty year last year, but even as shitty as Pittsburgh was at the beginning of the year, they looked god awful. They looked like the worst team in that division.
And then they had to
By the
figure
end
it out.
of the year, they were better than Cleveland.
Correct.
So
That's what
now
I'm
they
saying.
have another draft under their belt. You got a second-year quarterback that's coming into his own. They got him a few more weapons to work with. I think they're going to be better than what people think.
I think that
They gave Cincinnati everything they could handle in the 2 games they played them.
that Monday night game between Seattle and the Giants,
Yeah?
that could either be the best game on the schedule that week
Or the worst.
absolute poop. and I mean, realistically, I agree. I agree with Zolo again. That Seattle team you have absolutely no idea which way it's going to go. None. Like, at least I think with the Giants, there's more young talent there. Like, a little bit more. You have a little bit more like physical proof that they're going to be better this year. Seattle last year could have been a complete fraud, and they could be absolute garbage this year. So that game, I agree. The Raiders-Chargers game, that one's going to be big for me because realistically, if you go back through the first 3 weeks, you don't really see Vegas in a big game. I mean, they play Pittsburgh week 3, so I mean, are we really going to know that much against the Chargers? That for me is going to be the test for the Raiders. Another team that I think could go one of two ways this year. There's not a lot of people who have faith in the Raiders, but I believe in Jimmy Garoppolo. I know that's a hot take. I believe in Jimmy Garoppolo. I think Josh McDaniels has his perfect situation now.
He has no excuse anymore.
Basically, there's no
excuses are over.
Correct.
They don't do something this year. I think he might be on the outside looking in. I know they're indebted to him, and they're screwed when it comes to paying. They're still paying coaches that were there 2 years ago. So I don't know. See what happens with that deal.
Outside of that one, I mean,
week 5, all the bye weeks start. Anything jump out to you at week 5 other than Baltimore at Pittsburgh?
London's pretty blessed with Jacksonville at Buffalo.
I agree with that.
The Jags are playing there. For those who don't know, the Jags go to London every year. They might end up moving to London for all we know. The Jags' first of 2 back-to-back games in London. This one's at Tottenham Hotspur Stadiums for all the soccer Premier League fans that are watching for some reason. Beautiful stadium that they built with the NFL in mind. I think it's going to get really loud and really fun that day. That should be a really good game and one that's worth waking up
Pretty
for.
soon there'll be a team there.
It won't be long.
I like that game too because wasn't it last year? Did Seattle played in one of those? It was either London or Munich. I can't remember which one it was.
I think it was Seattle was in London last year.
That to me, I don't like the idea of a West Coast team going all the way to play over there as much as I do. I mean, that's as evenly matched as you can get it. And now here we are in week 5, and those two. Now you're at the point in the season now where one of those two teams could easily be separating themselves for the division. At that point, if Jacksonville goes to London week 5 and beats Buffalo, there should be no excuse why they're winning their division.
Yeah.
None.
And for the Bills, it's the question mark. This is a pretty good opponent that you're playing.
This is a prove it game.
You lose a home game, which is unfortunate for the Bills. So there's a little bit of adversity. You got to fly a couple time zones away to make it happen. But that's a good team. And if you can take on a good team early, you know at least where your team stands early on between that game and then the week 1 game versus the Jets. You kind of know where you stand if you're a Bills fan. Another game I love on the schedule here is the Dallas at San Francisco, which is the Sunday night game. I feel like that has a lot of fun. It's a great rivalry. Uncle Sam can tell us all about the 90s.
Yeah.
It's a great rivalry. Those are two rabid, crazy fan bases that travel well.
With Dwight Clark.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, a lot of NFC
pressured by Too Tall Jones.
A lot of NFC championship games were decided between those two teams, and I think it's a playoff rematch. Didn't Dallas have to go to San Francisco last year, and that's where they got knocked out? Isn't that what happened? It was the second playoff week.
Didn't Philly knock them out?
No,
Philly knocked out San Francisco, but
Philly knocked out San Francisco. He was hurt or whatever. Could have. I don't give a shit.
Woulda.
Do you want to know who I don't have faith in there?
Dak Prescott.
Well, obviously. But also, I don't have faith in Kyle Shanahan to make the decision anymore. I'm really.
At what point does he get exposed for being the guy that can't?
San Francisco 19-12.
Okay.
It was close. Okay, it was close.
Yeah.
At what point does he get exposed for the little choo-choo that couldn't do it?
Well, I mean, that's the whole thing. You drafted Trey Lance, he don't work. Jimmy Garoppolo, at the end of the day, is he Joe Montana, no, but he's serviceable. You couldn't get it done. Then now Brock Purdy's in. And the other thing is the rest of the league is going to get a full season of Brock Purdy now. It's not just going to be this flash in the pan right there at the end.
If he's ready.
If it's him, and in fairness on Trey Lance, I agree. I do think he's shit, but also we haven't seen a big enough body of
Correct.
work on him.
That's also true.
So they might do that. That being said,
I had a freak injury.
by the sounds of it, you might be.
Cut his leg off.
I think you're entering the 49ers into the what's his name, the Heisman winner from USC that's going to go number 1 next year. No.
Caleb Williams.
I think you're entering San Francisco into the Caleb Williams sweepstakes next year. Is that what's happening?
I'm not going to lie
The
to
only
you.
way
I
they
think
got a shot at Caleb Williams is they totally shit.
Hold on.
In general, drafting
Yeah.
a quarterback could be in play for them next year.
I agree with that. And I also agree. San Francisco was a very, very good football team last year for some reason. And I don't know why. And it doesn't make a lot of sense, but
Great defense.
they, a top 2 or 3 defense. I think there's going to be some regression out of
Let's
the 49ers.
be totally honest about the whole deal with San Francisco. You had the last pick of the fucking draft as the quarterback. That team is good enough without a fucking quarterback to go deep into the playoffs.
Yes, but are they still
Without a
going to
fucking
be?
quarterback.
Are they still going to be?
I think so.
I think there's going to
mean,
be a
as
little
long as
bit of regression.
They brought back just about everybody that they
I
had
get it. but
last year.
It's look at Buffalo. Buffalo has brought back the same guys and gotten added pieces and done this and that
Yeah.
every year, right? And
It's
they
just gonna get
still
figured out.
can't get over the hump. For some reason, to me,
That's because their defense is dog shit.
whose defense?
Buffalo.
That's not
Their
true.
defense is not as good as. Listen, they lost Von Miller last year. You could have threw the dirt on them. They were done.
Listen to me.
They couldn't get any kind of a
Von
pass
Miller is a
rush.
36-year-old dude.
It doesn't matter.
I
He
get
sets
it.
the tone.
But here's the thing.
Ask
wanna-
Tom Brady. Ask Tom Brady who sets the tone.
Okay. You really think that 49ers team is going to come out and be just as effective as last year?
I think they're good enough as a team, period, to get to the playoffs without a
Here
fucking
you go
quarterback.
again. Here you go again. This is your fucking staple. You beat around every question I ask.
Why?
Are they as good as they were last year?
Yes.
Let me take this for Uncle Sam. I disagree on Kyle Shanahan, and I don't think because of all of the injuries that they have, I think that the 49ers aren't in their shit or get off the pot year, whereas the Chargers probably are, the Bills probably are. I don't think that for the 49ers. I think next year you're going to have some concern.
I agree with that.
But, I mean, he's going to have the excuse at quarterback. I mean, he's going to have the excuse at quarterback. He's going to have 2 shots at it this year with Lance and Purdy. It's going to go Purdy and then Lance because Purdy won you all the games and brought you to the championship game. And then you're going to fill in with Trey Lance, see what happens if that doesn't work out. And then he'll have the excuse next year. I do think San Francisco always overplays. I think they don't play. They play over their potential, and I think that is because of Kyle Shanahan. I think he's a great coach. I know that he's blown a lot of games. He's blown a lot of games, and for 2 different franchises, he blew a Super Bowl against the Patriots. For God's sakes, I do think he's a really good coach. I do think his pieces are getting there. He's going to have a whole offseason to tailor an offense around Christian McCaffrey, and this is a great barometer. Week 4, or are we week 5? I'm sorry. Week 5. This is a great barometer against a good team to see, or against a team that we think is going to be good to see where do we stand. We're supposedly the division favorites. We're supposedly one of the top 3 teams in the NFC. If we could beat this team, we're going to be looking good if we can hold ground in our division. I think this is a good barometer for them early on in the season. First quarter of the season.
They got arguably a top 5 running back, a top 5 receiver, a top 5 tight end. The defense has just gotten even better with Javon Hargrave coming in on that defensive line. They're going to be better defensively this year than they were last year. So the defense alone is going to win them 6 games.
I don't think they.
You don't like
Right,
San Francisco?
You're right.
Bruce?
It's too much time. It's a whole season for them to figure that. For them to figure out Brock Purdy.
They're
They didn't have
expecting
enough time to figure him out.
they're expecting NFC Championship. I don't think that I don't think they're the best team in the NFC, even
I
though
agree.
they're expecting that. But I think that they're going to have a bigger
They're going to have
window.
a hell of a time just getting by the Rams.
They're going to have a bigger window to figure it out than we think they will. I think they're going to make, because eventually they're going to have to sign some of these guys that we're talking about, your McCaffreys and your Debos. And you're going to have to lock these guys down and make the salaries work. So the window closes quick. I think they got a 2-year window. If they don't figure it out next year, they go get their
They're
quarterback.
going to be in trouble.
They take one more run at it, and then they blow the whole thing up.
I
and
agree.
It doesn't get done.
I just, for some reason, I just don't. I don't see NFC Championship for them this year. I don't see it.
They should be playing for the championship. They should be. They're not going to win
We
it.
agree that that's their barometer, right?
Correct.
Is winning the
Yes.
NFC is what would be a good year for a 49ers fan.
Agreed.
I don't think they're
1000%.
I don't think they're the best team in the NFC anymore. I think Philadelphia's
Yeah.
far above anybody else in the NFC. Period. That's my opinion.
I can't disagree.
And they're
with
my
you.
pick to repeat back to the Super Bowl and win it.
We're making predictions in May here, people.
And win it.
You want to say it one more time?
Anyways, moving on. Week 6. Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, something did happen with your Wi-Fi because my phone was struggling.
Is it still streaming?
We're streaming.
We're still
You're
live.
good. You're back.
You're for sure. We're back. We're back in action here.
There's some fun ones in week 6. It gets a little bit better.
I agree.
And I hate to keep talking about the same teams, but I think we're going to agree on this one. Seattle goes to Cincinnati
1000%.
for a 1 p.m. game.
Yep.
I'm big in that one.
That one to me is going to be very interesting. As is, we haven't talked about the Saints yet.
Not at
Here's
all.
the whole thing. What?
It's not at all.
No, we haven't even made mention of them. They go to Houston, okay, and that does the matchup really? Is that a juicy matchup for me? No,
It could be fun though.
it could be
Could
fun.
be a lot of fun.
And the Saints at this point in week 6 most likely will probably be winning their division still. I mean, me personally, I think that's New Orleans' division to lose. That's going to be an interesting game. Derek Carr at Houston. For me, it excites me. Also, at that point, by week 6, we'll be able to see what CJ Stroud is going to be, hopefully, unless they listen to Uncle Sam and start Davis Mills.
You got any games you like week 6, Uncle Sam?
I
see
think
you smoking
we're
over there.
going to see what the Denver Broncos are about early.
Well, I mean, the Broncos at Chiefs
I
on
mean, are they
Thursday.
going to still be in the playoff picture by week 6, or are they going to be out of it?
Yeah, their schedule is not easy
Their
early.
schedule's
They got a
not.
really
They got a
tough-
little
I
bit
was
of a
shocked.
gauntlet. I think everyone's just banking that was a one-off for Russ. He was in a bad situation. Sean Payton. He's going to come in and change everything. I don't think it's going to be that easy for them.
I agree.
That's just my 2 cents. Their roster lacks a lot, especially defensively. So you could put lipstick on a pig and you can improve everything that they've done offensively. It's still a pig, though, and there's enough holes that if there's one team, if they weren't exposed already in the first 5 weeks, if there's one team that's going to kind of start tearing them apart limb by limb, it's going to be Kansas City.
Are they a 500 football team? Point blank.
They didn't pay for a 500 football coach. And they didn't trade for a 500 quarterback last year. That's the thing. I think they could be a 500 football team. I think they could be. That's not what that fan base expects.
No, I agree. That fan base expects them to compete with Kansas City for that division this year. And I think that's a completely unrealistic expectation, at least to me. But I think I agree. They could be a 500 football team. I think that's the ceiling.
What's kind of cool is at that point, too, when you get into this, if Jacksonville is the front runner in that division, this will tell it right here, because this will be the 3rd divisional game in the first 6 weeks that they'll be playing.
That's true. They'll play
And-
Indy, yeah.
And I believe at that point, you'll see if they're truly the best team in that division.
4:05 p.m. New England goes to Las Vegas.
That's a good one.
That one,
Josh McDaniels versus
McDaniels.
Bill Belichick.
Jimmy
Against
Garoppolo
the
against
guru.
God knows who. That game is interesting to me. You want to know what other one is? the 4:25 p.m. matchup, Eagles going to New York to play the Jets.
Aaron Rodgers is another one of those guys that they're trying. The Jets, they're gonna try to weed him out early. Where these teams that were good last year, they're gonna be good again this year. The Jets have a pretty difficult schedule.
No joke schedules.
Pretty difficult schedule to start the year. And I mean, hey, a lot of them are at home. I'll give them that. We'll see. Aaron Rodgers, are you what we think you are, or are you what they're hoping for? We'll find out.
Other than that, the 1 o'clock matchups don't really get me going.
I like Carolina at Miami. Battle of the undersized Alabama quarterbacks. We'll see what happens. There's a theory that Bryce Young might not be starting day one, which is fine. I mean, it's good to sit on a quarterback like that if you can. Hypothetically, he should be starting by then, and it'll be fun to see those two go at it because they're small, but when they can make it happen, they can make it happen, and I think that could be a fun little shootout there.
How do you feel about this Ravens-Titans game? That's the other London game.
You're big on the Titans, huh? Yeah, I mean.
I hate this game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so if this was a year or two ago, I'd obviously be a little bit more excited about it.
Is there anything that's more shitty than trying to cover a point spread in a London game? That bucket is a shit show.
Yeah, they're tough.
It's
Listen,
hard to call.
They're either bloodbaths. Those early London games are either bloodbaths or they're just they're pulling teeth. Like you're checking the fantasy stats when you wake up in the morning, and at this point it's like, oh, Lamar's only got fucking 50 passing yards at the half, and you just don't know what's going on.
Right.
So they could be tough. I'll give you that, Uncle Sam.
Next up, week 7. Now we're halfway through October. It's starting to get cold out. At this point,
True football season, baby.
yeah, this is real football now. At this point, the Patriots will have like 2 or 3 wins. It'll be
bandwagoner. He jumped off that bandwagon.
excuse me. No,
Jumped
I
off
told
the bandwagon.
we're not going back down this road. I told you I'm a realist.
Anyway,
Told
guess
you
what?
that I'm a realist.
Guess what?
What?
They'll have a better record than fucking Tampa Bay will.
That is true. That is without question true.
Yeah. So what are you? You're a Bucks fan again, or no? You done with the Bucks?
No, I never gave my alliance to a team. I gave my alliance to a player.
Bullshit.
All right? And at the end of the day, I am still both a New England and a
Stadium.
Tampa Bay fan.
I got one I like here.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm just looking at week 7 for the first time. I like a team we haven't really talked about much. We talked about them in week 1, I think. Pittsburgh at LA. Those are two teams that might be trying to find their identity there. It's a 4 p.m. game at SoFi. And Pittsburgh, as we know, is always in it every single year. They're always right there. And it's going to go back to is Sean McVay the second coming, and are they going to be on track? And if those are two competitive teams, you're looking at 500 football teams meeting each other.
Yeah.
That's a good midseason test to see where each of you stand and wherever. I think those could be 2 wild card teams. Could be 2 wild card teams. The Rams maybe not as much, but the Steelers are always there. They're always right there. They just have started slow the last couple of years, and if they're in it, let's see early what you could do in LA.
That Monday night matchup with the
That's fun.
49ers going to the
That goes back to the
Vikings.
we're weeding them out early with
Right.
Minnesota. That's
Hopefully
another
that'll lead the
bloodbath
Vikings
for them.
right out of the
At-
playoff
yeah, I
hunt.
was going to say, at the rate Minnesota's going, they might not have won a game yet. We have not said one time the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, I think you could pretty much expect the Arizona Cardinals will be probably the worst team in football this year.
See,
He won't be back by then.
He's not going to be
Kyler
back.
won't be back.
Well,
by
he
then.
might be back by 7.
It's in the
That's what they were
it's in
saying.
the ballpark. It's in
Yeah.
the ballpark, but I mean, I wouldn't anticipate them bringing him back that early. I think they're going to play for the draft pick. I really do. I really do think they're going to play to see what happened. And there's a theory that they might even take a quarterback. Like they might even take Caleb Williams next year.
and
So-
just get whatever you can for Kyler. at
yeah,
that
it's
point.
going to come down to how did they fare in the first 6 weeks,
Right.
and that's how we'll know how they're going to handle the rest of the way. And I don't know. We haven't said anything about them because there's not much to say.
I know.
But that is a good one. I mean, if you want to Seattle,
If they're going to win one, maybe they pick one up on accident there against Seattle. At Seattle, it's probably not going to happen, but like, I just don't know what to. Here's the whole thing: the Cardinals last year going into it, we didn't think they were going to be that bad. We did not think the Cardinals were going to be that awful of a team last year.
Kyler Murray at quarterback, you would think that they would be better than what they were last year.
That's what we thought.
And then when he went down,
if you go back to
it was a shit show.
if you go back to the way that their offense looked before last year started, they were actually exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, DeAndre Hopkins.
It didn't matter who was at running back too, which I
Right.
love.
No, it
offenses
didn't
like that.
They just kept throwing fucking random guys.
After
in
all
there.
the guys went out for the Rams, who would have thought that they finished out the year the way they did?
Nobody.
I mean, we all thought that they'd be lucky to win 2 games.
Oh, I know. I agree.
You know?
That's another reason why I don't think you can sleep on the Rams as much as everybody is this year.
Yeah.
That Thursday nighter could be fun, real quick. Jacksonville at New Orleans, because again, New Orleans, we don't know what we have. You think they're going to be the division winner?
I do.
I think it could end up being the Panthers, but that comes down to really good quarterback play, and we don't even know who the quarterback is. So it makes sense that you think that, and if that's the case, you got a Thursday night game in the Superdome with 2 division winners, and it'll be cool to see Trevor Lawrence go and try and get in a shootout with Derek Carr or whoever. I don't even know what's gonna be. It'll be Derek Carr.
Derek Carr. Could you imagine if Jameis Winston made the return?
Yeah.
Week 8, the 1 p.m. Honestly, that Thursday night game, Tampa at Buffalo. God bless whoever goes to that. But Sunday, 1 o'clock.
You'll see when Tampa getting ready for their playoff run without Tom Brady at the helm.
You think Kyle Trask is going to lead the Buccaneers to the playoff spot?
To the promised land.
Anyways, the first versus second overall picks, or hold on. They took
It's one
and
versus,
two.
it's
Right,
the top
right.
2 quarterbacks.
Top 2 quarterbacks.
However we're gonna look at it.
Houston at Carolina. That game is going to be real cute.
They should both be starting by then too.
Correct. By week 8, they've got to both be starting.
Minnesota at Green Bay.
Minnesota
at Green Bay.
Big game for the Lions fans.
Yeah.
How about the battle for MetLife there at 1 p.m.?
Jets at the Giants.
Giants. That could be a
that's-
lot
That's
of
going to be
fun.
Because could you imagine if Rodgers loses that game to Daniel Jones?
Yeah.
That would just be fucking. Honestly, the Jacksonville at Steelers game, that one's cute to me.
It's gonna come down to where Pittsburgh is sitting at that.
Might I
Yeah.
add this? The last time I seen a Monday night game when the Lions and the Raiders played,
God.
it was the Bo Jackson and Barry Sanders show. I was there. I remember it well.
That white on the field wasn't field markings. It was Uncle Sam.
I was there. I seen the greatest running back to ever play the game, Barry Sanders, and they were victorious. They beat the Raiders, and I remember it.
When was this?
Not in the '90s. I can't.
Wasn't
remember.
it? Wasn't it 90? I'd have to look it up. It might have been 96 or
Sanders
97.
had 176 yards and I believe
Do
2
you remember that? You
touchdowns
don't
in that
remember
game.
when it was?
Huh?
You remember how many yards he ran for, but you don't remember when it was?
176 yards. I believe he had
December
2
10th, 1990.
Oh, 90. Oh,
Oh,
damn.
I'm sorry. 90?
I'm thinking of a different one. I'm sorry.
December 10th, 1990.
Yeah.
So you were the only one alive.
What the hell is that supposed to be?
Just saying.
It's a good thing. Trust me. It's a good thing.
I was damn grown then. I was drunk.
Bengals Niners.
I was in my Z28. My alarm went off and I couldn't shut it off to start the car. And I ripped the alarm off and threw it on the hill at the Silverdome and then bypassed it. I just cut the wires on it and then drove home.
But he made it home because he's here now. That's how
Yes,
you know he made it
I did
home.
make it home.
Bengals at 49ers. I love that matchup.
I don't know how that's not in prime time.
I don't either.
Because that's the game of the week right there. That should be again. We think the Niners are going to be good, and if they are, and we think the Bengals are good. Listen, when it comes to the Bengals, and this goes back to you sucking them off at the beginning of the year last year.
all year last
They should have been good. They finished good. They started slow. They started slow
really
for a
well. Yeah, they
reason.
did.
Super Bowl hangover. We're not anticipating them starting slow, and middle of the year, here you go. You got to go to San Francisco. That's arguably a Super Bowl matchup right there, and it actually
agree.
is. Uncle
Yeah.
Sam, you're gonna love this. 1982 at the Silverdome.
Yes.
That was the Super Bowl
I
right there.
remember that well.
He was there.
Bengals Niners. That's when the Niners
Earl
won their
Cooper
first one.
caught the little swing pass from Montana and went into the end zone.
And that's how Joe Montana got his first Super Bowl. So
Yeah.
those are two good fan bases. I'll bet Bengals
Fucking Eddie
fans will
Murray
travel
missed the
pretty
field
well.
goal at Candlestick Park.
Did he? Oh, they
Yeah.
were. Oh, yeah. Should be a good one. That's a primetime game that isn't in primetime. It's a 4:30 game.
Eagles at Commanders. Do you guys remember last year? I can't remember if it was a Sunday night or a Monday night game. Philadelphia at Washington. Antonio Gibson fucking ran through. Brian Robinson. That was the Brian Robinson coming out game. But Antonio Gibson had a great game that day too. And they just ran the ball down Philadelphia's throat.
Was that Brian Robinson's first game when he came back?
I think it was. And somehow they beat Philadelphia.
Yeah.
That was Philadelphia's first loss.
Brian Robinson got shot and didn't play, and then came back, and Keenan Allen was out all year with a hamstring injury. So just remember, never forget that. Yeah, this is actually a decent week.
This is a good week. This week, I mean, even some of these shittier matchups, like
they're fun.
There you go. You got New England at Miami,
Atlanta and Tennessee. Tennessee.
Honest to God, I even kind of like the Chicago at the Chargers matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why, but I just feel like that'll be a big Justin Fields game.
It's a Sunday night game.
And Sunday night
game.
I mean, that week 8, good week so far. Mm-hmm. Good week.
Oh, LA at Dallas. Yeah, that is this. There's some fun ones
Stafford
here.
Versus Dak.
Yeah.
We might be able to watch Dak choke on applesauce.
Stafford, the pride of Highland Park High School in Dallas, Texas.
Exactly.
By that week, will Mike McCarthy be out of a job?
Oh, could you imagine if that's when
They don't usually fire their coaches mid-season. So it'd be fun. I love that narrative.
Yeah.
They do.
What if by week 3 Mike McCarthy's just gone? Anyways,
Then we'll have bacon.
Listen, I think if they
BLT's all around.
winning their division by week 8, I think you could see him gone. I really
Well, they're not
do.
going to be because they have Philadelphia in there.
Yeah, and I think the Giants are my pick to finish second in that division.
I think so too.
Commanders are always there.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna do our way too early predictions later in the week.
Yes.
But here we go. Week 9. Dolphins at Chiefs was that Munich?
Yeah.
That's the Germany game.
Yeah.
That's good.
Frankfurt.
Sorry.
Yeah, Frankfurt.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That one's gonna be cute. I love that. I absolutely love that.
It's a good little tease.
You know,
for the
there's
Giants
another game
fans.
on this, that Sunday night game, 8:20. The Buffalo Bills have to go to the Cincinnati Bengals, who was putting a shellacking on them when the DeMar
Here we go.
shit happened. But hopefully this year, that won't happen to them again.
I don't think it was once in a lifetime. I don't think that'll happen.
So the last time they played was in Buffalo too, correct? So this in the playoffs, right? Last time they played was in.
They
Correct.
played them.
Yeah, because
were at
obviously
Buffalo.
it was in Cincinnati when DeMar Hamlin went down, but
This is
I
in
don't know.
Cincinnati, too.
For some reason, yeah, this one's in Cincinnati. The playoff game was not. The playoff game was in Buffalo.
Correct.
And Joe Burrow had a ball. I'm curious. This is a big. I'm happy you mentioned it because I think this is a big tell-all for the Bills. Since I've been on this show for this is my 3rd episode. We've had a lot to say about the Bills. You'll know. I've said that 100 times for a few different teams at this point, but if you're a Bills fan, if you want to win the division and you want to win the AFC and you think this is their year,
That's the game.
You have to go into Cincinnati and you have to ball out. Josh Allen has to out-duel Burrow, which he has never done. Josh Allen has out out-dueled Burrow. I personally think Burrow's the better quarterback. I love Josh Allen, though. I would love to see just blood everywhere in this game. I would love this to be
I truly
the
think
Rams
Burrow is,
Rams and Chiefs from 2000.
he's
Whatever that was.
he's top guy in the league.
I wouldn't. It's probably wrong. I think
At
it's
this
Mahomes.
point in their career, I think it's
you're talking about between the two of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Burrow's
I would
accomplished
rather
more.
have Burrow than anybody else.
Yeah.
If I was the owner or
No,
a
he
coach
likes Burrow more than Mahomes.
That's fine. That's fine. I think if you put Joe Burrow, in fairness to that argument, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. I think he could be the best player ever. But if you put Joe Burrow in that same situation that you put Patrick Mahomes in, Joe Burrow would have accomplished more at this rate than Mahomes did. It's just a different situation.
That's an interesting take, and I like
had
it.
the privilege of playing under a very good head coach.
Yeah.
And I think
Good pieces
Joe
too.
Burrow.
Good pieces too.
Yeah, I mean, everybody forgets he had Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce for the whole beginning of his career,
and he got to sit behind Alex Smith for
yeah.
a year. That was big for him.
he got to learn the game from a consummate pro,
Mm-hmm.
Alex Smith, and he went into the right situation with arguably he had the fastest receiver in the game for the first 3 years he was there.
The cheetah. The cheetah.
He's got the best receiving tight end, arguably of all time, because I don't consider him a tight end, but I mean,
Yeah, he doesn't
it
block.
is what it is.
He doesn't block. He's not a tight end.
Even so, Bills at Bengals, the game before that, Dallas at Philadelphia.
Oh, by that time, I'm sure Mike McCarthy will be out of a job.
Yeah, Dallas's schedule is kind of tough now that I'm looking at
Dallas
it. It's
is going
tougher
to
than
the
usual.
gauntlet, too.
Yeah.
So, but they could be. There's a chance Dallas is out of it by then. Not out of it, but they're not playing for as much by then. Because again, I think the Giants are going to be the one that separates from the pack at that point.
There are the Jets at home on Monday Night Football again against the Chargers.
It's a little more lenient
yeah.
with the Chargers, but they're
I
compared
think
to
we'll
last
know
year.
where the
Those are,
Jets are by that point. We'll know where.
Oh,
they
yeah.
are.
we'll know where the Chargers are too. And those are
Correct.
two teams that are on par with each other compared to last year and their off seasons and with talent. They're neck and neck. So that could be fun. That could be a fun one.
You know, I was thinking about, how you always have that one team who was a playoff in the playoffs the year before, or was, a possible Super Bowl contender the year before, and then just completely
Collapse?
fucking shits the
I
bed.
think you're going to see that from
Is
a
it
couple
going to be
of
one of
teams
Jets or
this year.
Chargers? Who's it going to be?
I mean, I'm trying. It's one of. It has to happen. You
They're
get what
not-
I'm saying?
they're
It
not
happens
both-
every year.
Both of those teams aren't making the playoffs.
I agree with that 100%.
So it's going to be one of them.
One of those two teams is going to shit the bed.
Yeah.
One of those two teams is going to shit
Well,
the bed.
look at when we were talking about the AFC West, and we were like, shit, it's going to be a slobber knocker to the end.
Yeah,
And it wasn't.
Yeah, everybody shit
It wasn't.
the bed. Correct.
Kansas City clinched it, what, by week 12?
Yeah.
They had clinched it week
Correct.
13?
Yeah. That was supposed to be 4 teams deep
I mean,
last year.
see, there's
Yeah.
some other ones. I mean, the Chicago at the Saints. That game is interesting to me. Colts at Panthers. There you go. There's another quarterback duel from this.
Commanders
draft.
at Patriots could be pretty fun.
That could be
There's always
cute.
fun games when those two play each other.
This whole second half of this schedule. The first half doesn't really get me going outside of the Germany game, but the second half of that schedule that day.
So is there
Nice shit.
a game basically in Germany every week of this year?
Well,
No, they
coming up?
got 2 Germany games and 3 London games this year, and they're all within.
Okay,
they're all
'cause
within 6
Frankfurt
weeks. of
has-
each other. Frankfurt has 2 games.
They have one in week 10.
Yeah, I think so. They have back-to-back games, right? Is that what you're telling me?
Correct.
Yeah.
Got it. That sounds about right.
Because
Good for
then
them.
Frankfurt, go to Frankfurt on week 10.
Colts at Patriots.
You got the Patriots playing the Colts.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, at this point, we don't know what either one of those teams will be playing.
No, I think
for.
they'll both be out of the playoff picture.
I
by this
mean,
point.
we get to see Justin Fields in a primetime game that week.
Can I bring up an idea here?
Oh, here
to
we
you?
go.
And I know you're gonna sit here, bandwagon hater, fucking.
Oh, yeah.
Would it completely blow your mind to see Bill Belichick trot Mac Jones out there this year and fucking tank?
Yeah,
For Caleb Williams.
Yep,
yeah.
it would.
You mean
Would it surprise me?
You're anticipating Mac Jones tanking? Is that what you're saying, or do you think he's just going to stick with them even if it's not working?
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't.
I
think,
see him doing that.
I don't think he's got the gall to make the change, and I think he's going to be okay with that. It goes back to the Brady thing. Brady doesn't get in without Bledsoe getting injured. And
Correct.
Bailey Zappi doesn't get in without Mac Jones being injured. So barring an injury, he's going to try and think that, listen, we got that we took this guy in round 1. If it doesn't work with this guy, I want the full body of work to know that it doesn't work before we move on next year. That's I can
I
see
think
that.
you're right.
I could
do.
see it.
For some reason, okay. There's never any noise in New England. Never. There's been noise. That leads me to believe that something drastic is on the cusp of happening. But I agree with Zolo that Belichick's not going to say, "Oh yeah, we whiffed on Mac Jones, so we're going to toss Zappi out there, and Mac Jones is going to sit on the bench, and whatever happens, happens." I think that Mac Jones is going to die on the fucking field this year, and then they're going to be into the Caleb Williams.
If Mac Jones is a decent quarterback, he's going to have to prove it this year.
Their
Period.
Hail Mary's Bill O'Brien.
Yeah.
And go. I know
Bill
what you're
O'Brien
gonna
is
say.
a very good offensive coordinator.
So if he's good and you have Bill O'Brien,
Well, let me tell you this way. He's better than Matt Patricia. God, holy Christ.
I no longer
Matt
say those
Patricia,
words, but I want you guys
offensive
to know.
coordinator? What the fuck was he thinking?
I need the tip balls people to know that I will never utter that name. It's out of my vocabulary. It's gone. I don't talk about it anymore. I'm sad. I get blood goes to places I don't want it to go when I hear that person's name.
Well, guess what? I'm fucking going there, so
That's fine.
I'm already there.
Go ahead.
I'm already
You don't
there.
let her loose.
Hey,
Hold
Matt
on, wait a
Patricia.
second. Let her loose.
Matt fucking
No,
Patricia?
hold on. Before you go there was a team that hired him.
I can't believe the Philadelphia Eagles hired this
How
asshole
funny would it be
as
to
a
watch the
fucking-
Eagles not make the playoffs this year because the Patricia curse happened?
Because he's in the building.
Yeah, just because he's in the building.
Jeffrey
Just 'cause his
Lurie, you
big,
better fucking hear this.
fat, nasty auras. In the
Jeffrey
building.
Lurie, you better hear this. Get that asshole out of your building.
What was you had a trademark name for him?
Shitbag.
No, it wasn't.
Fat bastard.
No,
That
the
could be
tub
it,
of
too.
shit.
Oh,
The tub of
The
shit.
tub of shit.
Yes.
I like shitbag too.
You like shitbag?
It's excellent.
Listen, he's an asshole. He's an asshole. He doesn't know how to treat grown men and people like him.
And now one of those grown men's on his team in Philly too.
Yeah, I can't
Darius
believe that.
Wow. Can you imagine how that conversation went? Mm-hmm. Anyways, so
Chased him out anyway.
let's get away from the fucking Patriots.
Chased a lot of
Colts.
guys out of fucking
Yeah, that's
Detroit.
true. That's true.
That fucking game.
Every talent we had.
Honestly, again, and
You know,
I
if Darius Slay sees him in the building, he's gonna fucking jump on him and probably cut his throat.
I hate to keep talking about Jacksonville, but San Francisco
No,
at Jacksonville.
that's a good one.
That's going to be a fun
1
game.
o'clock
Huge
too.
matchup
It's
there.
rare you're going to see San Francisco play at 1 o'clock, and that's a good one.
That one gets me going.
They got to go across
Cleveland's
the
at
country
Baltimore. Another huge game.
Why do you keep saying Cleveland's a huge game?
Cleveland at Baltimore. We gotta
Cleveland's
see where
gonna
the
win.
Baltimore Ravens are going to be at this point.
The Ravens are going to be leaps and bounds better than
I think the
Browns.
Ravens are going to win that division. I think the Ravens are.
Ooh,
Yeah, I think-
oh shit!
I think the Ravens are going to be. They listen. We're getting Lamar Jackson with
happy
with
and
talent.
with people around. him.
With talent
With
around
finally
him,
some people to
and,
throw to.
and they're in it. So God forbid Cincinnati starts slow.
Oh,
God,
yeah.
God forbid they start slow. Baltimore's not gonna. They're not gonna let that go. I think this is the Ravens' redemption year.
Remember
You gotta
last
stay
year,
healthy.
Cincinnati had a hard time just playing Huntley.
Yeah. Yep.
They barely won that game.
Yep.
That fumble sealed it at the end from Huntley.
Yeah, I think the Ravens are going to shock people by winning that division. So it's going to be. That's what I'm looking forward to is the first Ravens Bengals. But I know what you're saying and talking about Cleveland. There's a lot of curiosity with Cleveland because how is Deshaun Watson going to be? We talked about it with Week 1. It's literally one of the first things we talked about. What are we going to get in Deshaun Watson? So that's why I think Uncle Sam's a little bit
I think
enamored
at this point
with
in the year we
Cleveland.
might get poop.
Yeah,
Giants at Cowboys again.
we got a good toilet bowl there with Atlanta at
Yes, we
Arizona.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be the Caleb Huntley sweepstakes.
Yeah.
Trademarked one.
Caleb Williams. Yeah, that's going to be a
Caleb
fun one.
Williams. That's sorry.
First week of
He said
the
Huntley, it's on
first
my mind.
week 11, the first game of the week. You have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Baltimore Ravens.
Thursday Night Football.
Probably playing for that division at this point.
So
That's gonna
I'm
be
in the
cute.
minority. You guys both think Cincinnati, right? You both think Cincinnati's taking
I
the
think
North?
it's Cincinnati is
I
going to
think
win that
Cincinnati's
division
the best team in that division.
by
I do.
a game.
Okay, well, here's
game.
your A game right here.
Correct. This
That's-
is your A game.
That's
And you
about
got
as
Pittsburgh
good.
at Cleveland.
We haven't seen a better Thursday night football game than
Yes,
this one.
this
It's in
whole
November. I mean, hey, and they got to go to Baltimore. Could
Look
be
at week
could be a lot of
11.
fun.
Chicago at Detroit.
Chicago
Giants at
Detroit.
Washington.
Oh yeah, there's some good divisional
There's
games.
some
Yeah,
huge Tennessee at Jacksonville.
Okay, hold on. I wanted to make one more point about Tennessee. I think Tennessee is going to be right there with Arizona as one of the worst teams in football.
so do I.
Okay.
Who's their quarterback? Are you gonna? What do we have left with Ryan Tannehill?
I mean,
What is there?
I don't. But all right,
Did they
okay.
do any? They didn't do anything in the draft to even get
Yes,
this
they
guy
did.
weapon.
They got Will Levis.
What the fuck?
They got Will fucking
Will
Levis.
Levi's? They got Will Levi's?
But all right,
Why do they call him Levis?
How-
Spelled
when
Levi.
And
do
they're
they-
talking about, by the way, they're talking about getting rid of Malik Willis. I don't know if you guys have
Oh,
heard
really?
that. They're
Oh,
talking
gee,
about
they
releasing
should
him or
sign
trading
him.
him.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Back up.
At what point does Tannehill get the plug pulled and they throw Will Levis out
He'll
there?
probably get injured before they have to make a
That's
decision
true.
on that.
Yeah, they might get him killed before then.
I don't know if Tannehill doesn't get injured. I don't think Levis touches the field this year. I think it's a project, and it's a perfect project. And you let him sit behind Tannehill, which is a great. Tannehill could tell him everything. This is what happened to me when I started day one for the Miami Dolphins. I took a shit. I was on Hard Knocks. I stumbled into this good situation. I was good. Soak up as much as you can, Will Levis. You're in a decent offense. They'll get you more pieces down the road. This probably isn't your year. Let this guy take the fall. And I disagree on Vrabel. I don't think they're going to fire Vrabel for the reason that they're going to let it build with Will Levis. And I actually do think this is a good organization. They're well run. I love Vrabel. I'm a Michigan guy that loves Vrabel, who went to Ohio State. I love Vrabel. I think he's one of the better coaches. Players love to play for him. I think people are going to want to go to Nashville. They're getting a new building. There's a lot to like about the Titans. There's not a lot to like about the Titans.
Bruce is going to Nashville.
Agree.
You little drunk.
Have a great time too.
Then you got Eagles Chiefs on Monday Night Football. So, that's
sandwich. That's the best Monday night game and the best
And the
Sunday
best
night game, or the best
Thursday.
best Thursday night game.
Agree. Week 12. Here we go. Thanksgiving Day.
Well,
The Lions should get a W there. I would safely assume at that point in the year. And
I think by that point it's going to be the coming out party. Those who weren't invested the first 2 or 3 months, and you're forced to watch the Lions on Thanksgiving. They'll get more. Of course, the Thursday night game is going to be their most eyeballs, but people are going to be forced to watch them on Thursday afternoon this time. For the first time in years, they're going to walk into that game a favorite, and I think they're going to get some people
but at
to
this
buy
point,
in.
we'll know where the Lions are at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're even in the hunt for this division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had those answers last year. That
did
was
you
the
just
turning
say?
point.
You heard what I said.
Well, he's not wrong. He's devil's advocate, banking on
Yeah.
if
They know where they're at this
you
point.
and I disagree, and we'll
he
get to the
just
Lions.
said if they're in in what has to happen for the Lions to not compete for the division?
he'll tell us when the
Goff,
schedule
go down.
goes. He'll tell us when the schedule goes down. The other two Thursday games are also pretty good in my opinion. I
Washington at
think
Dallas will be a tough game.
Commanders always play Cowboys close, especially on Thanksgiving, and that's a pretty good dessert there on Thursday night.
game
Oh, we have a
that.
Black Friday game too this year. I forgot.
Yeah, it's the
What
first
the
one
fuck?
ever.
Yeah.
Another Aaron Rodgers sighting. Jesus Christ.
I don't think they're playing a game that's not primetime.
And that's a good game too. That's a pretty good game.
It's a division game. Well,
It's actually
Those
not
two
Jesus
teams
Christ
maybe-
anymore,
because
it's
we
just
think
battle
we think those are 2 and 3 in the
Correct.
division probably.
yes, those two teams will be battling.
This is another good divisional week, Uncle Sam. Look at Atlanta,
Correct.
New Orleans. That's a
Pittsburgh
great
at
one.
Atlanta.
Bengals. New
Yeah.
Orleans at
got
Atlanta.
Pittsburgh at Cincinnati.
Talking like a motherfucker.
Carolina at Tennessee.
Patriots, Giants.
Patriots
is a
at
good one.
Indy.
Patriots.
Or I'm
At,
sorry, Tampa Bay at Indy.
And then we have the dumpster fire that is the Chicago Bears
Yeah.
in Minneapolis to take on the Vikings.
KC
That's
at
gonna be-
Vegas.
that's going to be a 13-10 game.
Buffalo
Bears
at
winning
Philly.
That one for sure.
That one's going to be.
Oh,
ugly.
Buffalo and Philly.
Buffalo,
Yeah, I missed
Philadelphia.
that. That's a good one.
Baltimore at
Baltimore at the Chargers. Yeah.
Chiefs at Raiders.
This is probably the best. This is probably the best
All-around week.
all around week. I'd say. Yeah, the
That's
primetime
a
games are
that's
just
nice
okay,
matchups
but
there.
yeah.
It's shocking to me how all these games, those last 3 there didn't get prime time, and Chicago at Minnesota did.
I think it goes back to you can only put Aaron Rodgers in prime time so many times. You can only put the Eagles and the Bills in prime time so many times.
Yeah, so fuck it. We'll just
Yeah.
yeah.
We'll throw them on Thursday afternoon or Friday afternoon, whatever.
Here we go. Thursday, back-to-back Thursdays. Cowboys.
Cowboys
against
again. huh?
Seattle. Yep.
Seattle at the Cowboys.
This one looks pretty.
Shitty.
You got San Francisco at Philly.
At Philly, the rematch
Someone-
of the NFC Championship.
On the Seattle and Dallas one, someone's going to be out of it by then. That's my bold prediction. One of those two teams is going to be out of it. Because the rest of those games are played in the first weekend in December. So someone's going to be statistically, someone will have to be out of it at that point between.
Cincinnati at
I agree with that.
Jacksonville.
Cincinnati at Jacksonville
fun.
Monday night
Jacksonville
game. That's a fun
getting
game.
That's a
Time
fun
love.
one.
San Francisco at the Eagles Sunday afternoon. That's a fun one. Outside of that, It's
No
this
game
was
is
pretty
bigger
poopy.
than the Thursday, December 7th game. It's a Thursday night matchup as Bill Belichick heads into Pittsburgh to play the Steelers. By that time, they'll clinch the division.
Tampa Bay at the Falcons.
Detroit at Chicago.
Yeah, again,
Okay, Bills,
we're at
Chiefs. There
we're
you
at the
go.
point in the season that the games are gonna, because there's gonna be teams that we're missing. We're missing a team that's gonna pop off. We're
Right.
overhyping a
Right.
team that's gonna drop off, and we're at the point in the season where there's only so many. I mean, some of the games that we're looking at right now are going to be either really big, and then a lot of them that we're looking at are going to be not so big. 'Cause
Right.
again, statistically, teams are going to be out of it at this point.
You
Teams
can
are
only
gonna
have
be
so
injured.
much
Well,
sex.
you do
Yeah.
you do have Seattle going to San Francisco. That'll be a huge game. Buffalo's at Kansas City. That'll be a big game. Denver at L.A.
I think Seattle's on that
Chargers-
list of teams that's going to drop off.
Yeah.
Because what is it? It's there's usually 3 or 4 teams that were not in. I think it's 3 or that were not in the playoffs the year before get in the next year. I think Seattle's one of those teams that comes out of that picture.
Agree.
And I think at that point they should be out of it.
And
But
the
that being
Chargers.
said, if they're in it,
Been there in the first
the
place.
Chargers. And then who knows? Maybe the Broncos are in it at that point. I don't
Yeah.
think so, but maybe the Broncos are in it at that point, and they have a pivotal 4:30 game against their division rival, and they got to go to LA and try and get some shit done. Like, who knows?
Philly at Dallas.
Aaron Rodgers finally gets a break with the Houston Texans
Yeah.
that week. I
There
want
we
you guys
go.
to know.
Finally
that.
gets the-
he finally gets some rest.
Yeah,
but there's some. I mean, I think Panthers Saints is a lot of fun, but this isn't overall. This doesn't compare to some of those November slates that we saw.
Right.
Week 15, a lot of the games still aren't timingly isn't scheduled yet. But we do have the prime times. Thursday night, Chargers at Raiders. Sunday night, Ravens at Jaguars. That one will be interesting.
I love that.
I
Those
love that.
those could be 2 of the top 4 teams
Yep.
in the AFC at that point and battling. Could be a future playoff matchup a month after that. I
Chiefs
love that
at
one.
New England. That'll be. You know. Here we go. You want to talk about the game where the Cowboys will win and everybody will jump off the Bills bandwagon on Week 15, and Josh Allen will look like dog shit in this
Yeah.
game and throw 3 or 4 picks. It'll be Cowboys at Buffalo.
Some fan will jump the fence and
with
punch
the
Sean
stick out.
McDermott in
Yes,
the face.
that's what'll happen. That'll be that game. That will be that game.
That'll be the game where Mike McCarthy loses his job.
No, that'll be the game where Mike McCarthy saves his job for another
Saves
year.
it. I hear you.
Yep. And then here we go with the sorry, I was choked on myself. The other one that interests me right here is that Minnesota Bengals matchup. This I feel like when you get to this week 15, 16 situation, this is when some of the good teams are going to start to slump and shit the bed a little bit. That Minnesota
Well, Minnesota
good.
even be
Cincinnati
playing for
game.
anything at this point.
No, but that's what you have to worry about.
If they do, and if they do have something to play for, it goes back to you get punished in the NFL the way for those that don't know, for the way the schedule making works. If you finish at the top of your division, you're going to play in your crossover games. You're going to play the best division winners
Right.
from other teams. So the Vikings, who weren't really good last year, did themselves no favors by finishing in first because now they have this gauntlet schedule, and you got to play Cincinnati, and I mean you already are playing Kansas City, and you have to play all these top teams that are probably going to run you out of the building. And who knows? Maybe they're good. Maybe the Vikings are good. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe they do exactly what they did last year. I personally think there was a drop off. That point in the season, yeah, they're going to be playing spoiler at that point, and who knows?
I
Maybe
would
they
say
got
the
a lot to play for.
Vikings were probably the biggest fraud of last year.
You know something?
They were. We're all
Outside the
in
Tampa Bay
agreement.
Buccaneers,
You know something?
they were the biggest.
No,
fraud.
You know
It's the
something?
Vikings.
You are such a hypocrite.
Why?
You are such a fucking hypocrite.
Why?
Because you just got here. It's like if the Lions are in playoff contention at that point, and you
don't
double
know.
down and talk
You don't
about
know what Chicago's going to do.
Oh fuck!
You don't know
Get
what Green
the
Bay's
fuck
gonna
out of
do.
here. Anyways, the Christmas week, week 16.
There's some rock solid
wow.
Christmas. 2 games on Christmas, or
Damn.
I will be watching.
So we have a Thursday night, 2 Saturday nights, a whole bunch on Christmas Eve, a Christmas Eve night game, and then 3 games on Christmas. Ravens at 49ers on Monday night, Christmas Day.
Could be a Super Bowl matchup.
Beautiful.
What was once a Super
Giants
Bowl
at
matchup.
Philly.
Giants at Philly in the afternoon slot. Honestly, I don't hate Ravens at Chiefs for the early slot on Christmas
Raiders-
Day.
Division rivalry.
at Chiefs.
Division rivalry.
Yeah.
Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football on Christmas Eve. Patriots at Broncos. If I'm not mistaken, hold on. It was this year on Christmas Eve. It was the Franco Harris game at Pittsburgh, and it was snowing, and it was real cute. And Pittsburgh
ball hit
won
the
that
ground.
game, huh?
The ball hit the ground.
Anyways, Pittsburgh
You're
won
talking
that
about the
game.
Immaculate Reception.
I was there.
Anyways, this game
ball hit the
reminds
ground.
me of that. I kind of like this as a Christmas Eve matchup. That one's cute to me.
Steelers fan.
Both those teams only have 4 wins at that point, anyways. The rest of the Christmas Eve games, take them or leave them.
Yeah, I mean, as long as we're not talking about the Lions, I
Yes,
don't
we're
love,
not talking about the Lions here.
I don't love anything here. There's a couple toilet bowls. Dallas and Miami's great, but yeah, the 1 p.m.s, nothing that stands out.
But God, they did a nice job after the 1 p.m.s.
Yeah.
They did. Week 17.
December 28th.
December 28th. Oh, I'm sure you'll want to talk about this one. The Jets at
Aaron
the Browns.
Rodgers goes to Cleveland to play Tug and Rub Watson.
Saturday night. Lions in a primetime game.
Lions primetime again
Again.
at Dallas.
So at this point, obviously, week 17, everything will pretty much be.
The Buffalo Bills will be out of playoff
Things are
contention once
usually
the New
locked
England
up.
Patriots
Yeah.
go there and
Here we
beat
go.
them.
4:25 p.m. The Bengals at Kansas City. That game could have some weight on it for seeding. Packers and Vikings. Maybe somebody will be playing for second place.
Miami Dolphins have to go to Baltimore, where it'll be
Yeah.
cold as shit.
You want to know that? That's fucked up right there. Okay, actually, both of these games: Miami at Baltimore, New England at Buffalo, Cincinnati at Kansas City. Some sort of fucking something's gonna get
gonna
knocked
happen.
out.
Atlanta and Chicago too. That's the same. It's a dome team going to a cold weather city there. I know.
Yeah.
Are you saying want something with implications?
I'm saying that
Something
those
in the
three
game
games,
will happen.
implication wise.
An avalanche of snow will fall off the
Oh,
roof
yeah.
at Buffalo and kill Bill Belichick.
But I mean, think about that. Imagine that'll be the game where New England goes to Buffalo and somehow fucking wins, and the Jets win the division.
They'll beat them. What is it?
But Bills-
6-3.
Yeah,
In a
the Bills go to
snowstorm.
the wild card.
There's a lot of games in cold weather cities that week. And
Ooh,
that is not cool.
this is cute right here. This is cute. I like this.
They always
Yeah, the
end-
Chargers at Broncos. Imagine that one. And yeah, there's 6 feet of snow in Denver that day, and that LA finds themselves out of the playoffs again. Ooh, that one's spicy.
Well, week 18.
the divisional week. My favorite.
Divisional game.
This is where you either beat Aaron Rodgers to knock him out of the playoffs, even though you have nothing to play for, or you get in on a last second play and then you end up making a run in the division, or whatever happens.
I
This
would
is
have to say
always a
week
fun week.
18 is probably the best out of the whole schedules that I've
Well,
seen.
it's all divisional weeks.
Correct.
It's all divisional games. It's by design.
It's the best.
You will
week
soon
of
find out the only games Uncle Sam likes are divisional games.
Do you still call it the NFC Norris division?
Do I?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
He only likes divisional games.
That's it.
So realistically,
Divisional
games
games because they play harder for divisional games.
that Seahawks Cardinals game probably won't matter. The
I'm sorry?
Pittsburgh Ravens game probably won't matter.
Which one?
Hold on.
The first two.
Hold on. I think Pittsburgh is getting into the playoffs, and I think they're going to be fringe playoff, and I think Baltimore is going to be fighting for seeding at some point.
So you think that one
I
matters?
think it matters.
Okay. Tampa and Carolina, I don't think that matters.
No, wait a minute. That could be for that division.
No,
I-
Tampa Bay
Carolina,
is going
yes.
to win 2 games.
Carolina, yes. Tampa, no. And it's a matter of if it's a dogfight
Yes.
division, then Carolina has to win it. But other than
Dallas
that,
and
you guys
Washington,
are both
that's
right.
a gimme.
Wait, you haven't said anything about Cleveland and Cincinnati.
Cleveland-
I'm not there yet.
The battle
I'm
for the
starting
dumpster
from
of
the bottom,
Ohio.
going up.
You're
The dumpster
in
bowl.
the wrong spot here. Yeah, the battle for fucking the dumpster, Ohio. I don't
dumpster
think
of
that one
Ohio?
matters.
Yeah.
The
play
Vikings,
for a-
Insulting
Lions.
all our Ohio fans.
They play for a trophy that's shaped like a dumpster.
Is it really?
Yeah, look it up.
Okay.
The dumpster fire trophy?
We don't want Ohio fans.
The Minnesota at Lions game, I personally don't really think that one will matter.
Really?
I'm with you because I do think Minnesota is not going to finish second in the division.
Okay. Chicago at Green Bay. In my opinion, I think the Lions are going to be more than a game up on all three of those
I'm
teams.
with you.
So I don't think that one really matters. The Texans and Colts, that one I don't think is going to matter.
Denver at Vegas.
I don't think that's going to matter.
Okay.
The Kansas City
You're
and
saying that
Chargers
right
one,
now?
maybe.
So
One
I
of those
think-
two teams
Hold on.
are going to leapfrog L.A. the Rams or the Chargers.
in that quad in those two games, I think
Yeah.
one of those three teams gets into the playoffs with the Chiefs.
Correct.
So I think something might matter there. I just can't tell you yet. I don't know who I feel comfortable enough to say is going to finish in second.
I think
in
it's
the division.
I think it's Chiefs and Chargers, and it'll be for the division.
Okay.
You know,
Fair. I don't know if it'll
They'll
be for the
both-
division, but they'll be 1 and 2 in the division.
they'll both be in.
Buffalo and Miami.
That one's going to
One
matter.
of those two teams. Are
Yeah.
gonna be in,
and
one will be
and
out.
I
and
agree.
the fucking Jets at New England. There
At
you
this
go
point,
again.
Is Aaron Rodgers playing for a playoff spot, or is Aaron Rodgers going home?
Imagine if New England won week 17 and 18 and beat Buffalo and the Jets, and Miami won the fucking division. I think it's going to be that fucky, personally. I think that one's going to be that fucky. There you go, Atlanta and the Saints.
There you go.
Could be playing for pick one.
yeah.
One of them could be
Derek
playing to get into the
Carr.
playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know.
Philadelphia and the Giants.
That could be fun. I do think the Eagles are going to run away with the division,
agree.
but the Giants could be playing for something at
could
that
be-
point.
They could be playing for
and
a high
also,
wild card
who
spot.
knows? Maybe the Giants are in it, and maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe the Giants aren't the second place team in the division. Who knows? But there could be something going on
Unless
there.
Seattle has some kind of miracle here.
No, I was going to say you could have the collapse game.
Yeah. The Geno Smith implode game.
Cowboys at Washington.
The game that Geno Smith implodes in.
Yeah. Okay. So do we go talk about the elephant in the room now?
We sure do.
Here we go.
And that is
Even though
Uncle
you-
Sam's cock. No, I'm kidding. That's not it.
All right. The Detroit Lions schedule 2023. Obviously, they don't just open up their season, but everyone's season on September 7th at 8:20 p.m. in Kansas City. So the Lions are going in to play the defending Super Bowl champions at Arrowhead. What does this mean to you?
Oh,
You go. Just go.
we're starting with me.
Yes, just go.
I have a lot to say about their schedule. I'll tell you, I have a selfish approach to week one and then an unselfish approach. The selfish approach is, so you guys probably know, some don't. We know who the Lions are going to play next year. We know who they're going to play at the end of week 18. We know their schedule, or we know who they're playing and where they're going to play. We just don't know when it's going to happen. Schedule release day just tells us when it's going to happen. So going into schedule release day, the games that I was circling that I wanted to go to, I would love to see them play in LA against the Chargers. And I wanted to go see Kansas City because they haven't been there since 2003. The last time they played at the Chiefs, it was in London. And you only play on the road in the AFC every 7 years. So I had this one circled. Obviously, for selfish reasons, it's hard now. It's banner night in Kansas City. It's going to be really expensive. It's hard to get there. And it's tough. That being said, going to throw it all in reverse. Selfishly, I'm pissed that they're playing that game week one because it would have been a lot easier to go to if they weren't raising a banner that night. That being said, we have bitched for years in this town that we've wanted our team to be on a relevant stage at a relevant point in time. The NFL has been listening. They've been listening to what every pundit has said about the Lions this offseason. They saw the ratings of that Lions-Packers game at Week 18 last year that didn't mean anything for one of the teams, and it was Aaron Rodgers' going away party. They saw that and they said, you know what, Lions fans? We've been listening to you for 20 years. Bitch about your team. You want the big stage? We'll give you the biggest stage. This is arguably the biggest game of the season until the other ones happen, until we get those Ravens, Bengals games, whatever. This is the first football game of the season, and they gave our team the honor of playing in it. And it just means more to us than it meant. I mean, I know there were Super Bowl rematches, 7 out of the last 10 years in that game, whatever. This means way more because this is us. This is our team who never has gotten this stage. This game has happened where the Super Bowl champion opens up the season, first game of the year. This game has happened for 20 years, and never have the Lions opened up this game. And they're going to go into Kansas City, and they're going to play like fucking crazy with their heads on fires like they do. I'm not going to guarantee a win. Gun to my head, I don't think they win that game. I don't care because there's no better barometer to see how they are. It's going to set the tone for the entire season. On one hand, it's great to be there. I don't think they're going to get run out of the building. I'm excited to see it. So on one hand, you have that. But on the other hand, God forbid they fucking win that game. God forbid.
Shit.
And they go back to Ford Field.
This whole city will blow up if they win.
They go back to Ford Field week 2, 1-0 for the first time in 5 or 6 years with a record at home over 500, even if it's one game and it's the second game of the year. They go back to Ford Field 1-0 with that as their win, with this offseason and with this draft class and with this free agent class and everything that's happened. Oh my God, is that going to set the tone? If they win, it's going to set the tone for what could be what we're all anticipating, what could be a special year. They don't win, I don't think it's a season-defining loss unless they get run out of the building. Andy Reid, I want you to know, is 8-0 as the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs in week 1. So it's going to be a tough one. It's not going to be easy. I don't think the Chiefs are out of this world.
I think the Lions match up very well with them.
Agreed.
I really do.
Agreed.
I don't think for 1 minute, if something drastic happens, if Goff goes down and they get run out of the building, I mean,
Why would you
what are
even
you going
put
to
that
do?
in the atmosphere?
Huh?
Why would you even put that in the atmosphere?
I
I'm
don't
just
think
more
they will.
injury prone than go.
I
don't
think they
think
match
they
up
will.
well with them.
I don't think they're getting run out of the building.
I don't think so
Losing a
either.
close one, they don't have the ball at the end of the game late. Mahomes gets to
Yeah.
run it down the field. I could see that. They're not getting run out of the building.
No, I don't either.
If they lose by 10 or less, there's no complaints.
I just
No
want,
complaints.
I just want to
That I will.
each other. That's
I will
Line at the
say.
ball.
I will say that was the biggest nod of approval the NFL has probably ever given the Detroit Lions as an organization.
or they just want
Yeah.
to shit the.
They want to weed out Aaron Rodgers. They want to weed out the Minnesota Vikings. They want to weed out some of those teams early. They put the Lions on there. It's week 1. I think I'll get to how
Let
I
me
feel
tell you
about the rest
something.
of their
I think
schedule.
they're gonna. I think the fans here will travel to Kansas City.
Oh, 100%.
yeah.
They're gonna be-
100%.
You're going to be shocked in how many people you
100%.
see
Oh, because-
from here or there.
I can tell you somebody who's going.
Am I going?
He's going.
I'm not going.
You're
I'm not going.
You wouldn't
you
go
and
with
PJ
me?
are going. I thought.
You wouldn't
We
go.
all
with me?
might be
PJ told
going.
me you're going for your birthday.
Well, we're gonna have to wait and see.
That's it.
We all might be going. Week 2, Seattle.
I
It's
have the
big.
Lions winning this first game.
You have them
I
beating
truly
Kansas City.
think they match
You're
up
giving
good.
them the W against
I'm going to give them
KC.
I'm going to give them a W at Kansas City.
You're giving them a W at Kansas City. Let's
Yeah.
just do
At
this right
this
now.
point, you might as well.
W or no?
I'm going to say no. Right
Okay.
now. And
I'm gonna say no as
In
well.
May, I'm going to say no.
What do you have?
I'll agree. For right now, I'll say no.
Okay, so for
right now.
Seahawks week 2.
This is one of the biggest games on the
Going down
schedule.
line, I'll take it.
This is one of the biggest games on the schedule, and there's a reason for it. This is where you lost your playoffs last year. It's a team that they were
Right.
better than. The the defense wasn't ready for that game. It wasn't ready for Geno Smith, unfortunately. It is now. They're not giving up. Literally, the Seahawks didn't punt in that game last year. Every single possession ended with a touchdown or a field goal.
Correct.
Every single possession. That ain't happening. And not only is that not happening, but
That was
they're-
at Seattle.
it's important. No, it was here. It was
I
here.
thought it was here.
It was here.
It was here.
Oh,
Not only that, but they didn't stop the Lions last year, and I don't think that just adding Devin Witherspoon is going to be what stops the Lions. The Lions' offense is going to be better week 2 next year. I think this is a big game for the Lions, 1 of 2 to start the year. I think they take that one.
I'm giving them a dub as well.
Dub.
yeah. I got
Okay.
to win it.
Week 3, Atlanta. I mean,
Dub.
Atlanta could be sneaky. I think the
saying
Lions
no.
are still better, even if Atlanta's
B. John
sneaky.
Robinson coming into Detroit.
you're going to give them the win. You're going
No,
to give them the win against.
I'm going to give the Lions a win here. I don't think they have a quarterback that can beat them.
Okay.
So that principle might apply to week 4, too, right?
Week 4. Yeah, I think it's got to.
Travis, you're on the road. You're at Green Bay.
I don't care. Thursday night
Their
football
record
at Green Bay.
hasn't been that great in the past
In
10 years.
September, they're winning that game.
Green Bay comes down to how good is Jordan Love,
And he ain't good
It's-
enough to beat
It's
this
so
team.
defining. I think that the Lions are just better than the Packers. I don't
Agreed.
love the Packers off season. I think that's a win.
I got him going 4-0
Doesn't
right
mean
now.
They could. I think
Very
they
easy.
could fall.
I have the
Are
Lions
you
going
picking them to
4-0.
win or not?
I'm picking them to win this one.
Okay, there we go. Next up, Carolina Week 5 again. Me personally, I think they're sweeping the NFC South.
That's a dub.
If there's one NFC South game they're going to lose, it's
Carolina.
This is
I do think
rematch
it's
as well.
It's that one or New Orleans. New Orleans is tough. That's a tough place to play. I don't think New Orleans is that good. I said it earlier. I think Carolina's genuinely going to have a shot to win that division. Gun to my head, that's my pick to win the division. This would be the one. I don't think Bryce Young is starting by then.
I was going to ask you if you think he's playing.
I don't think he's starting by then.
don't.
He might, but number 2, the Lions have a bad taste in their mouth from that loss last year.
They were embarrassed.
They deserved
They
to lose
did.
that game, but there were issues with the turf that have since been talked about, how the turf wasn't safe to play on, how they got run out of the building. That's going to be their showcase for their defense next year, and they're going to take it really seriously, and I think they're going to win that one. I got them at 4-1 thus far.
Bruce?
Yeah, they're taking this dub.
I got them winning. 5-0.
Chip on the shoulder.
5-0, but not competing for
5-0,
a playoff
baby.
spot. Next up at Tampa Bay. That's a dub.
Arguably the easiest
That's a
game on
win.
their schedule.
Yep.
It's probably a win. And Lions fans are going to travel to that one like crazy. It's going to be like watching the Wings play in Tampa Bay.
I got them going 6-0.
Okay. At Week 7 at Baltimore. This one's
Loss.
fiddly fucky for me.
This one
of right
screams,
now.
and it's the same with the
Lamar
Chiefs game.
Jackson at his best.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit colder at that point. It's the end of October, and again, I think Baltimore is going to win that division. I think they're going to be trying to keep pace to win that division at that point. I think that's going to be a loss.
Yeah. I think they're going to lose. Yeah.
I think they're
the
gonna win
first
that
loss.
game.
I got them losing one game.
Right now, it's checked. I'm highlighting it, but I'm going to take it as a loss right now.
Okay.
And then it goes back to the God forbid thing. God forbid they win that one.
I think they win
they
that
pull out
one.
a close
I think
one,
there's a chance
and
they
they
could
come
pull
back
it off.
Monday night. Go ahead. You think they win?
I
Baltimore?
think they win at Baltimore Sunday at 1 o'clock. Okay? I think they win that game, not like with a stamp, but pretty decisively, and come back the next week on Monday Night Football against Las Vegas and shit the bed before the bye week.
possible. It's possible.
I got them losing to the Ravens.
If
I
they
have the
beat
counter
the
to that.
Ravens, yes. But if they
Yeah.
lose to the Ravens, they're going into Monday night and they're winning
Yeah,
that game.
there's hangovers. There's for sure hangovers. I think it's countered. I think they're going to lose in Baltimore, and they're going to
I do
take.
too.
They're going to be serious about winning that Raiders one to show going into the bye that they're what we think they are. What I would have them at 5-3 at that point, which isn't a lot of people might not think
No,
that's
2.
great.
You only got them losing 2.
Baltimore. Oh yeah,
Baltimore
excuse
and
me.
Kansas
Excuse
City.
me. So I think 6-2 going into the bye.
We're all on the same page then. You have them beating the Raiders?
Yeah.
And you
Yes, I have
do
them
as well.
against
So
Baltimore.
we all have them at 6-2 right now in
Yeah.
some way, shape, or form. Okay. Wait a second. No.
November 12th.
You don't. You
Sure.
have them at 7-1.
Just the Ravens.
You
Yeah.
only have them losing
I got
the
them
Ravens.
losing to the Ravens.
Week 10 at the Chargers. I think that's a win.
I do too. I don't think the Chargers are that serious. And that's another place where Lions fans love to show out. That's going to be a home game. That Chargers game, that's going to be a home game. It's going to be really loud at SoFi like it was when we played the Rams, or when they played the Rams, excuse me. And I think the Chargers just don't have, they're not going to have what it takes to go to toe-to-toe
I
with the
would have rather
Lions.
seen Stafford come into Detroit last year. Or was it last year?
No,
2 years ago.
I wasn't
All
ready
right.
for that. I wasn't ready for that.
November 19th.
Shit.
Well, no. Do you think they're going to beat the Chargers?
Yes.
You do.
At home, yeah.
No, it's in L.A.
In LA?
It's in LA.
Yes.
Oh. Yeah. No, I'll give them the dub anyway. Yeah.
Okay.
Might as well.
Chicago. At home.
It's a win.
I agree.
That's a win.
Okay.
I don't think Chicago's ready. I think they're better.
I agree.
Don't think they're ready, and I don't think they're Ford Field on the road ready.
Are they beating Green Bay twice
Yes.
on Thanksgiving? That's a must win.
I think they're beating Green Bay twice.
I agree.
Yeah, sure. I'm a dub.
New
They're
Orleans.
gonna fall.
That's the coming out party
at
the
New
Green Bay
Orleans.
home.
This is hard.
I'm giving them a loss in this game.
I
I don't know why. It just feels fiddly fucky.
I am too. I think Derek Carr, they're at home. Who dat? And I just don't see it going good for them on the road.
Tough place to play.
Hard place to play.
I was there last time though. And it was a really crazy game. They were down 3 touchdowns, came back and tied it. Still ended up losing. Drew Brees popped off in the fourth quarter. Everyone was injured for the Lions. I do
That
think
was the game where he just absolutely obliterated them in the second half.
Yes.
I remember that.
In the first half too, in the first quarter. But regardless, I don't think the Saints are ready. I do think they're going to have a down year. They're going to be improved. They might even be second in that division. I think the Lions are going to travel well for that one, and things are going to be picking up steam at that point, like they did in the second half of the year last year.
Dan Campbell coming home,
and it's the Dan. I was just going to say it's Dan Campbell's coming home.
No, I don't have them winning this game. I think they're going to lose this game.
I think they win it.
I think they win.
Wow. Okay. So
Wait, you have them beating Baltimore.
No, I have them losing.
I have them.
You have
I have them beating
Okay,
Baltimore.
Yeah, I have them losing to Baltimore, losing to
My so far my losses are New Orleans, Kansas City, and the Raiders.
Okay.
Okay. At Chicago, loss. I think they're going to lose back to back.
I think they're going to lose.
That's the
this
game they
also.
fall to right there.
At Chicago, Justin Fields going to run around. Everybody's going to be so tired, they're not going to be able to catch
Because
him.
I want to see how Chicago is at the beginning of the year.
Going to be cold as shit. December 10th.
I just after that they will right the ship. I think they lose to New Orleans, and I think they lose to Chicago. They win the first 3 back off the bye week and then lose 2. And that's their little slump. That's their little, oh, what the fuck? That's when everybody panics and says, oh my God, it's falling apart. And they right the ship after this, in my opinion.
I think that they win in Chicago. It's just a place that they've always fared very well in, and I don't think Chicago's ready. Denver at home, I think, is...
Denver at home, I think it's a dub.
It's one of the few in question home games outside the division. I do think they win that one. I don't think Denver is going to be great, like I said earlier in the show. It's not... Rome wasn't built in a day, and I don't think Sean Payton's going to right that ship overnight in Denver, and they'll probably be out of it by then, too, so...
I'm taking the dub on this one.
I think Uncle Sam nodded his head, too, on a
You
win
took
there.
the dub?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I got
All
in
this could change depending
at
on if
Minnesota.
Denver comes out.
Yeah, but we're just doing this for fun. At Minnesota.
They're going to get retribution for a game that
I
they
agree.
should have won last year in Minnesota, and I think
Correct.
they're going to win that one with the division in sight.
I agree.
Okay. So everybody got a dub for that. At Dallas.
I got them losing this game.
I got them winning. This
I'm
game.
hammer fucking it. They're winning this game.
Gun to my head today. I have them losing this game. It's a place where they historically have struggled.
Yeah,
they
have
struggle
nothing
around the
about
holidays for some reason. It's New Year's or it's the day before New Year's. It's a Saturday night primetime game. It's the 30th. It's not actually
When's the
New Year's
last time
Day,
they
but
beat
But still, same thing.
in Dallas. I think it was when
Dallas.
Stafford when he threw the bomb to Kelvin Johnson, and I think that was the last time they won in Dallas.
a long fucking time ago.
It was. I think it was 2013 to be honest
go.
with you. So I actually have them losing that one.
Against
too.
Minnesota to end the year at home.
Minnesota at
At
home.
home, that's a dub.
They'll seal it up to clinch their division by beating them,
So
and that'll be it.
I personally I think it's gun to my head. It's gonna go that way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give them a loss though because it's really hard to sweep your division. I had them going 5-0, and I think that's the loss. And it's not gonna be. It's
They went
not gonna be why
5-1 last year.
They went 5-1 last year. It's really hard in all of football to sweep your division, even though they should have did it last year. But they're gonna rest some guys for this game because it's gonna be over at that point. And I think for that reason, Minnesota might be playing for something.
Okay.
I don't think they're
That makes
second in the
sense,
division.
actually.
You have a point.
So I think I'm 13-4 if my math is correct.
13-4, 13-4, 13-4, 12-5.
Holy shit.
So can I piggyback my rant real
Please,
quick?
let's do it.
I have some notes on their schedule. I have a lot to say about their schedule. And it goes back to the whole schedule release day being like the Super Bowl. Because again, I knew who they were playing going into Thursday when the schedule was being released.
Right.
We all knew who they were playing. We didn't know when. We didn't know when the games were going to be spaced out. We didn't know what was going to be in prime time, et cetera, et cetera. I have some fun facts for you guys. Compared to last year, if we're looking at strength of schedule of last year's team. So going into the season, the Lions have the 24th ranked strength of schedule, which means that they have one of the top 10 easiest schedules in the league. I think that's a major
That's
Weird
purge.
with
That's huge.
Kansas City, LA.
Yeah, no, Kansas City, but again, you align where you play, like your crossover games align where the other team finished in the division. That's a story for another time, and they have some good second place teams that I think they're better than that they're going to play next year. Number 2, the Lions travel the 6th least in the NFL next year.
That's nice.
Their travel is down. Not only is the teams in their division all travel less than them, believe it or not. Green Bay, Chicago, and Minnesota all have lighter travel than the Lions. They're all in the top 5. That being said, the Lions go to the least amount of time zones of any NFL team next year. They go to 8 time zones. So most of the games are in their time zone. They barely leave their time zone next year, which is huge. Okay, so there's not a lot of travel. Number 3, all of their Thursday night games, which Thursday night games, I'm sure you guys have heard, are a detriment. The players hate them because there's a quick turnaround. There tends to be a lot of injuries. All of their Thursday night games are either at a reasonable time or they're sandwiched in between good games. So, or winnable games, I should say. So the first one, the Thursday night opener, you basically have the entire offseason to prepare for it. And then there's 10 days rest until the next game. So at a minimum, they're going to be healthy and well rested for that Chiefs game. Okay, so they lucked out with that Thursday night game.
That is nice.
Their second Thursday night game is sandwiched in between the Seahawks. Excuse me. Is sandwiched in between the Falcons and the Panthers. 2 games that I think we were consensus they were winning both of those games.
Correct.
Everyone here.
Yep.
So that's their Green Bay game, which they could lose that Green Bay Thursday night game. It's a place that they're prone to shitting in. I don't think Jordan Love is going to be
with Aaron Rodgers.
And yeah, that's with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And this is a place that the Lions have played very well in recently.
Agreed.
Okay, including I was at the Monday Night Football game 2 years ago where they played great in the first half, blew it in the second half. Story for another time. That game, that Thursday night game, is sandwiched in between the Falcons and Panthers. The last one is sandwiched in between the Bears and the Saints. Okay, so it's short rest. Those last 2 are short rest, but they're at least playing inferior teams. Which leads me to another point. There's no team in the league, and this is actually like a statistic, there's no team in the league that has more schedule disparity this year than the Detroit Lions. Meaning 1 week they play a good team, the next week they play a bad team. Their schedule is set up perfectly this year. Perfectly. They've never had a better schedule in terms of setup than this season, which leads me to the last point. In the second half of the year, especially compared to last year, in the second half of the year, the Lions play 1 game outdoors in a cold weather city, and it's in Chicago, the place that they've won more than any outdoors in the cold weather.
They got
It's
Denver
December
at home.
10th. They only play 1 game in the back half of their schedule. Mind you, last year in the back half of their schedule, would they end 7-1 and almost got into the playoffs? Mm-hmm. So we know they're probably going to be a second half team to begin with if they stay healthy, of course, if they stay healthy. But you're going to have Jamison Williams back at that point. Your rookies are going to be in a groove. On the low end, I'm not going to fully commit to that 13-4. I think they're going to go 13-4. But on the low end, I gave a window last year to people who know me. I gave a really good window. I said worst case 7-10, best case 10-7. My guess is 9-8. I said that a year ago. They went 9-8. They improved. My window this year, worst case is 11-6. I think 11-6 wins you the division. It's a down year. I think 10 games wins you the division this year. So 11-6 wins you the division, but that's worst case. God forbid they go into that Kansas City game and they come out champions. I think best case for this team is 15-2. I think that's their window. It's broad. They're going to fall in the middle. 13-4 is my guess. 13-4 probably gets you second or third in the NFC. I think it's very plausible that it can happen. They're probably going to lose a divisional game just because it's hard to do that. Their road schedule is kind of tough at Baltimore, at Dallas, at Kansas City. One of those has to be a loss, but that's the window. I think they're going to fall in the middle of the window. I promise you no Lions schedule has set up better than this ever in my lifetime. No schedule is set up better than this. And you had a good free agency with a crazy amount of hype going into the offseason and following up the end of the year. You had a good free agency. You had a great draft. And now you have a great schedule to go with it. I think it just adds to the hype. And again, they're
compared to
playing
last
for a
year
lot.
where they didn't do anything in free agency except re-sign all their old guys. They have to play the Panthers twice this year.
No, they don't.
What?
Just once.
What?
Twice.
They're not in the
They
division.
don't. They're not in division.
Yeah.
You
No,
can't
but
play.
they have to play the Panthers twice this year. They play them in preseason also.
Oh, get the fuck out of here!
That can matter. No, to Uncle Sam's point, the year the Patriots lost to the Giants in the Super Bowl, they played 3 times. They played in the preseason, they played at the end of the regular season, and the Giants were like, well, we know what they look like because we've seen them
what
twice.
They like to do.
So it's going to be a different Panthers team. I think the first
Correct.
time around in the
Correct.
preseason, you're going to see a lot of Bryce Young. I don't know if he'll be starting when they.
But I think the Panthers want to do basically what we want to do, is that's run the football throw the play action off the run.
Okay.
And they play good defense.
Just to follow up on what Zolo said, I agree. I think the worst this team does is 10-7. That's the bottom.
It better be.
That's the bottom.
It better be.
And I agree with him. 10-11 games gets you the division.
And what happens if they go 500 next year and
That's it. You turn the
don't
whole
make the
fucking
playoffs
thing down.
again?
Next year?
Everybody goes.
Well, it depends why.
I mean,
But
everybody
And this
goes.
would be Dan
Everybody
Campbell's
goes where?
third year on his contract.
I'm asking a question.
No. You have to remember. Remember the conversation we had last year when they had that 7-1 run and this close to making the playoffs? I said as soon as that happened, the expectation for this team going forward changed.
Right.
Period.
And I think they said
Now you're up with the big boys now. It's you can't shit the bed
that's
now.
why you got
regret.
Thursday Night Football. The league. Everyone in the league, from
Correct.
the league offices on down to the other teams, the other coaches, the other GMs, the other players, to all the pundits on TV that have been making fun of you for years, they think you're ready to play with the big boys.
If they go into Kansas City, all right, and again, I don't think they have to win the game.
Detroit first everybody.
If they can get close to covering,
It's -6.5 right now too for the.
if they cover, I'll give them 10. You're good. If they go into Kansas City and they lose by 28 fucking points, that sucks. Because that's the expectation now. The expectation is that you are going to compete with them.
They can't go into
they did
to
do
Kansas
that
City and
rest of
do
the
same
season.
old Lions.
No.
They go in there and they get blown out by 30 points the first week.
It's SOL.
It's SOL.
If this is the team, sorry, Bruce, I know what you're going to say though. If this is the team that ended the season the way it did, they're not going to get blown out.
I agree.
I agree.
I
with
agree.
that. I agree with that. They one thing that they showed me last year that I haven't seen here in quite some decades.
They don't quit.
They didn't quit.
They don't quit.
They didn't quit. They play
the
hard
helmets on
right
the
to
ball,
the end.
baby.
Lions teams
Every play.
were known to quitting in those big games, or
Yes.
in those blowout games, I should say. They never quit. They didn't quit at the end of the year, which is why they got where they did at the end of the year. They don't quit.
Okay.
Grit, baby.
I think that was an absolutely lovely schedule breakdown. Why are you looking at me like that?
Like
Looking
what?
at me.
Oh, he's looking at you?
Yeah,
What
because I said grit.
I think he's high. Anyway.
anyways,
Surprisingly, I'm not.
I mean, that we perfectly summed that up. And like I said, we're going to come back to you guys later in the week with our bold predictions.
Bold predictions for what?
I don't know, maybe the upcoming season?
Super Bowl? I already told you, Philadelphia Eagles.
Anyways, I would like to thank you guys for listening to another episode of the Tip Balls Podcast. Make sure, if you are watching us on YouTube, to check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Remember to subscribe there. If you're listening to us, you probably already know where to find us on YouTube. Also, follow our socials, Instagram and Twitter at Tip Balls, TikTok at Tip Balls Podcast.
Don't follow me. I don't pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah, if you want to get
Even though you-
25 memes from
Yeah.
the 80s sent to you a day, give Uncle Sam the follow. And Bruce should be posting there much more often now.
Sure.
Otherwise, I'm going to shove this pen in
Fired,
him.
Bruce.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
Who's
You
going to
will
get
hear-
fired first? Mike McCarthy or Bruce?
Oh, that's a great prop.
Bruce.
We should put a poll up.
You'll hear from us Wednesday.